Ah, my dear friends, welcome. Come closer to the fire, won't you? The night air has a chill to it tonight, doesn't it? I can hear the crickets outside, a steady hum against the quiet of the mountains. Here, take this cup of warm ginger tea. Let its gentle warmth spread through your hands, all the way to your heart. Many nights this old monk has sat just like this, watching the embers glow, listening to the soft breathing of the world around us. And often, just like tonight, friends would come, their faces etched with worries, their hearts carrying burdens that felt too heavy to bear alone. Some of you might be feeling that weight right now, perhaps from a day that spun out of control, or from memories that refuse to settle. I know, my dear ones, I know. Sleep can be a fickle friend when the mind is restless, when life itself feels like a stormy sea. Tonight, on this quiet channel, Zen Mind Sleep, perhaps we can find a small harbor together. We won't try to solve anything, no grand pronouncements, just a shared moment, a story, a gentle breath, about a certain quality of mind, one that the ancient ones spoke of with such reverence. They saw it not as a distant ideal, but as something woven into the very fabric of our being, a quiet strength that can hold us steady when everything else seems to sway. It's not a cold, unfeeling state, this quality. Oh no, not at all. Some might hear of peace in unpredictability and imagine a heart turned to stone, impervious to joy or sorrow. But that is not it, my friends. Not at all. I remember once, when I was a young novice, I thought peace meant never feeling anything difficult. I tried to push away sadness, to ignore anger. It was like trying to hold back a great river with my bare hands, the current strong and relentless. But the old teachers, they showed me a different path. They spoke of a peace that is luminous, yes, like the moon reflecting on still water, its surface calm yet alive with light, but also bright and warm, like the embers of this very fire, radiating comfort. A peace that doesn't build walls around the heart, but rather expands it, making it spacious enough to hold everything. To hold the joy of a grandchild's laughter and the ache of a loved one's passing, all within the same steady embrace. It is about meeting the world as it truly is, with an open gaze and a heart that does not flinch from what it sees. So, dear ones, just for these moments, let your shoulders drop. Let the floor, the cushion, the bed beneath you truly hold your weight. There is no need to carry it all right now. Just let go. And let us begin our quiet journey. There is a simple saying, one that comes from the heart of the Zen tradition, that always brings a smile to this old monk's face. Sitting quietly, doing nothing. Spring comes and the grass grows by itself. Have you ever truly pondered those words, my friend? We spend so much of our lives doing, don't we? Striving, planning, pushing, pulling, trying to make the grass grow faster, trying to force the flowers to bloom before their time. And often, we forget that some of the deepest transformations happen in quiet surrender. And yet, look outside. The moon tonight hangs in the sky, not straining to shine. The breeze whispers through the pines, not struggling to blow. And in the silent earth, without a single effort, the tiny seeds are simply waiting for their moment, knowing that spring will come. And when it does, the grass, it just grows by itself. This deep stillness, this allowing, this letting the mind settle like water finding its own level after a long journey, that is where the gentle wisdom we speak of, this equanimity, as the ancients called it, truly begins to emerge. It's not something we can chase down or grab hold of. It's more like the quiet breath that comes after a long sigh of release. It appears when we stop grasping so tightly at what we want to keep and stop pushing so fiercely against what we want. A wish would simply disappear. I know, my friend, easier said than done, especially when the heart is sore or the mind is churning with regrets or anxieties about tomorrow. But trust me, sometimes the greatest effort is simply to cease all effort. And speaking of tales, because this old monk believes that explanations are like dry husks compared to the living seed of a good story. For thousands of years, the deepest truths have been carried not in grand treatises or complicated arguments. No, they have been breathed into existence in quiet rooms, under the ancient banyan trees, beside the murmuring rivers. In these gentle hours just before sleep, passed from one heart to another. So let yourself sink a little deeper now. Let the story weave itself around you like a soft blanket on a cool night. I want to tell you about an old master, not someone from a dusty book, but someone who felt as real as the stones beneath our feet. He lived in a time when the world truly did move at the pace of a slow ox cart, when the cycles of the seasons dictated life, not the tick-tock of a clock. His small hermitage was tucked away high in the mountains, where the air was always crisp and clean, carrying the scent of pine and damp earth. The silence there was deep enough to hear your own heartbeat, a gentle rhythm against the vastness. This master, his name was Old Bao. He had spent nearly his whole life in quiet contemplation, watching the clouds pass over the peaks, listening to the wisdom of the wind. He wasn't a guru with dazzling pronouncements, you understand. He was just there. And yet, people would journey for days, climbing winding paths, their feet dusty, their clothes worn, just to sit for a few hours in his humble presence. They said that simply being near him was like stepping into a pool of perfectly still water. The ripples of their own anxieties, the endless chatter of their minds seemed to quiet down, almost without effort. His eyes, I've heard, held the deep, clear light of ancient stars and a warmth that melted away tension. There was a profound rootedness to him, like an old oak that has weathered 100 winters, its branches strong, its roots reaching deep into the earth, unshakable. This wasn't some natural gift, mind you, like a talent for painting or music. This steadiness, this quality the ancient texts call a mind not easily shaken, was something he had cultivated, grain by grain, breath by breath, over decades of patient practice. He was the first to admit his own imperfections, his own moments of doubt and struggle, for he was utterly human, like you and I. But through honest self-awareness, through countless moments of surrender and acceptance, he had forged a profound inner calm. Imagine it, dear friend. When the village heard difficult news, a poor harvest, a lost traveler, a sudden illness, Old Bao would receive it, his gaze steady, his heart open, but never swept away by panic or despair. He would offer comfort or a practical hand, but his own core remained undisturbed. And when joyous news arrived, a new grandchild, a bountiful rain, a successful hunt. He would share in the happiness, his laugh a warm rumble that filled the small hermitage. Yet he never lost his quiet center, never forgot the delicate balance of life. He had learned, not just in his head but in his bones, how to stand in the middle of life's wildest weather without being toppled. He was like that old tree, solid and silent, offering shelter without demanding anything in return. And perhaps that was the secret to why people felt so utterly at ease with him. He didn't need anything from them. He just was. One morning, as the first rays of sunlight began to paint the mountain peaks in shades of rose and gold, shimmering on the surface of the quiet lake, late in his long life, Old Bao found himself walking along the shimmering shore of a high mountain lake. The air was crisp, carrying the scent of pine needles and damp earth. Beside him, quiet and attentive, walked a young student, eager to absorb whatever wisdom might drift his way. Ah, my friend, I remember a morning just like that. One of those rare mornings when the world itself seems to hold its breath. The mist, you see, it hadn't merely hung low. No, it was a living shroud, a painter's veil draped across the surface of the lake, so ethereal, so pale, it felt as if you could reach out and pluck a strand from the air. It softened every edge, muted every distant sound, turning the sharp mountain peaks into gentle suggestions in the silver mirror of the water. The air, oh, that air was a bite, a crisp, invigorating embrace that stung the nostrils and sent a shiver right down to the marrow of your bones, making each exhaled breath a fleeting cloud of your own presence. From the ancient pines behind us, a solitary thrush began its hesitant song, a tiny jewel of sound in the vast silence. And somewhere, a slow, patient drip, drip, drip of water echoing from stones hidden deep within the moss. It was a morning that commanded quiet, a deep, reverent hush, and we both honored it, standing there. My student, young Jian, he stood beside me, full of that youthful fire, that boundless energy that hums beneath the skin, always seeking motion, always seeking to test its limits. We had shared many seasons together, walking mountain paths, sharing simple meals, the kind of companionship that warms the spirit even on the coldest nights. A bond of unspoken understanding, woven thread by thread through shared silence and gentle guidance. But Jian, he carried a restlessness, a vibrant, uncontainable life force that saw stillness as a temporary state. His eyes, bright with challenge and wonder, swept across the vast, still surface of the lake, gleaming like polished silver in the nascent light. "Master," he announced, his voice a clear bell in the quiet. "The water looks truly magnificent. I believe I shall swim across." I merely glanced at the lake. Oh, I knew that water. It was the kind of deep, ancient cold born from snowmelt, fed by glaciers high above. Even the air itself, hovering just above the surface, carried the icy breath of it, a chill that promised to steal your warmth in mere moments. Without a moment's hesitation, he shed his outer robes, folding them neatly on a smooth stone. Then, with a fearless stride, he waded into the shallows. I remember the sharp gasp of air he took, then a joyful, almost primal shout that echoed briefly against the mountains before he plunged into the icy depths. The water embraced him, then yielded to his strength. His strokes were magnificent, powerful and true, each pull sending bright arcs of water shimmering into the mist. He cut through the cold surface with such ease, such vigor, leaving a trailing ripple that widened behind him like a quiet smile. Soon he was a small, determined figure moving steadily away from the shore towards the distant bank. And it was there, my dear friends, as I stood watching him diminish into the mist, a faint speck of vibrant life against the vast, indifferent silver. It was there that the story truly began to turn for this old monk. A feeling, yes, not a clear thought, not a nameable emotion. It was more like a shadow passing over the heart, a fleeting whisper from a forgotten season. Perhaps it was a quiet pride, a warmth for the vitality of youth, or perhaps it was a tiny flicker of something more challenging, a ghost of a competitive spirit, long thought extinguished, or simply a sudden, sharp memory, a memory of my own youth, when these very limbs were strong and supple, when this chest could draw breath deep and full, when the world felt boundless and every challenge was merely an invitation to dance. A brief, almost imperceptible surge of, I could do that too, once. Have you ever felt such a thing, my friend? That unexpected stirring when you see a younger version of a dream you once held? It happened before I had even truly recognized it. A silent, swift decision made not by careful thought, but by that small, insistent spark that had suddenly ignited within. I will swim across. A voice, not quite my own, seemed to murmur within my spirit. And so, almost compelled by that fleeting memory, that ghost of vitality, I began to shed my own robes. My fingers, accustomed to slow, deliberate movements, fumbled slightly with the ties. Then I stepped into the water. Oh, the cold, my dear ones. It was not merely cold. It was a living entity, an invisible hand that reached up from the depths and gripped me, an icy vice around my chest. It stole the breath from my lungs in a single, painful gasp, leaving me momentarily stunned. Every nerve ending screamed. But that spark, that stubborn, foolish little spark, it had not yet been extinguished. It burned, small but insistent, urging me forward, past the initial shock, past the body's protests. I pushed myself forward, one stroke, then another. The initial numbness gave way to a dull ache in my limbs. For a few precious moments, a fragile hope flickered. My arms moved, a familiar rhythm, though slower now, heavier. Each exhalation was a puff of white against the shimmering water, a testament to the effort. The far shore, which had seemed so inviting, so reachable in my mind's eye, still lay clear before me, a tangible goal. But the lake, the lake, held secrets deeper than I had accounted for. Its cold was not just on the surface, it permeated, seeped into bone and muscle, chilling the very core. And my body, this body, which had carried me through 80 seasons, it was no longer the vessel of my youth. It was a faithful servant, yes, but one that had earned its rest. Very gradually, imperceptibly at first. Then with a growing certainty, stroke by laborious stroke, the vigor drained away. The spark flickered, then dwindled. The distance seemed to stretch, the shore receded. My lungs burned, my muscles screamed their protest. And I knew, with a quiet, undeniable certainty, this old monk would not make it across today. And so, my dear friends, let us pause here by the warmth of our fire, feeling the night air cool on our skin, and sit with that story gently. There is no need for us to dwell on any sadness that might linger from the ending. The wind whispers through the pine branches outside, carrying away any lingering sorrow like dry leaves. What truly matters for us tonight, as we share this quiet space, is what happened in that single, almost imperceptible moment on the shore. That tiny flicker, that small, almost invisible impulse that arose within the master, even before he had time to truly see it clearly. A lifetime of wisdom, yes. Decades spent cultivating inner peace, his mind a quiet pool reflecting the moon. And yet, in one unguarded instant, a tiny spark of pride was enough to pull him ever so slightly off-center. I remember once, when I was a younger monk, perhaps in my 40th year, after a particularly long and fruitful meditation retreat, my mind felt like a clear sky, vast and untroubled. As I walked out into the temple courtyard, the morning sun felt especially bright, the bird song unusually sweet. And then a thought arose, a faint whisper in my heart. Ah, this is what peace feels like. I have truly grasped it. Just a whisper, you see, not a shout, not a grand declaration. But in that instant, I felt a subtle shift, like a feather drifting onto the surface of that clear mind pool, creating the tiniest ripple. The bird song still sang, the sun still shone, but something inside me had become just a fraction heavier, a fraction less free. That was my own flicker, my own small spark of self-congratulation, pulling me just a hair's breadth away from the boundless peace I thought I had found. This is not a story about failure, my friends, neither for the master by the lake, nor for this old monk in his youth, nor for any of us here tonight. No, it is a story about how beautifully, how profoundly human we all are, even at our wisest, even after years of walking the path. We are made of stardust and struggles, of quiet triumphs and gentle stumbles. It is a story about the extraordinary power of those small inner movements, those fleeting currents in the river of our minds. They are so quick, so subtle, so often unnoticed that we barely register them before they have already carried us somewhere we did not intend to go. Like a single, almost silent raindrop hitting the still surface of a vast lake, sending ripples that eventually reach every shore. Have you ever felt that, dear ones? That subtle shift in your mood, that faint stirring of irritation or elation before you even fully recognize what it is? It's like watching a cloud form on a perfectly clear day. A wisp, then a puff, then suddenly the sky is overcast. And this, you see, is precisely why the ancient teachers, those who walked these paths long before us, valued equanimity so deeply. Not because they expected perfection from themselves or from their students. They knew the human heart too well for such a demand. No, they understood how easily the mind can be tilted, how quickly it can drift from its center, and how much depends on our ability to simply notice that tilting, that drifting, before it carries us too far away. The old Zen tradition speaks of this with such tenderness, like a grandmother comforting a child. There is a saying, you may have heard it, fall down 7 times, get up 8. The path of life, the path of inner peace, is never about never losing our balance. Who among us, with all our years, has not stumbled, not lost their footing in the storms of life? It is about what we do in the very moment we notice we have lost it. It is about that gentle, quiet decision to return. And before that, it is about developing the kind of gentle, steady awareness that allows us to notice sooner and sooner and sooner still. Until one day, perhaps, we can even catch that very first flicker, that first whisper of a thought, that first subtle stirring of emotion. Like a farmer who feels the change in the wind long before the storm arrives, or a fisherman who senses the shift in the current before his boat is pulled off course. We learn to notice the first drop of rain, not just the downpour. And in that moment of noticing, we can choose, with great kindness toward ourselves, not to be carried away. This is what the old master by the lake had done so beautifully for so many years. To observe without judgment, to flow with the moment, to simply be. And this is what, in one brief and very human moment, he forgot. Not because he was weak, not because his practice had failed him. No, my friend. It was simply because he was human. And the teaching hidden in that moment, if we are willing to receive it gently, like a warm cup of tea on a cold night, is that equanimity is not something we achieve once and then possess forever. It is not a fixed destination on a map. It is a returning. It is something we come back to again and again with patience, with understanding, and with grace. Every sunrise offers a new chance to return to that quiet center. Every breath is an invitation to begin again. And yet, how often do we feel ourselves caught, my friends? Caught in the swirling dust of what was said or what was not said, carried away by the currents of approval or perhaps the sharp sting of criticism. It's a dance we all know too well, isn't it? The subtle ways our own peace can be stirred simply by a passing word, like a leaf on the wind. I remember when I was a young monk, barely taller than the prayer flags outside the temple gate. I thought detachment meant building a wall, a thick, unmoving barrier against the world. I tried so hard to be untouched, unfeeling. But the winds always found a way, didn't they? A word of praise would swell my chest with a fleeting pride, and a harsh word from the abbot would send a shiver of shame right through me, chilling my very bones. I would sit for hours, trying to quiet the churning inside, feeling like a tiny boat tossed on a great, unpredictable ocean. Then, one quiet morning, the old master, his face a map of countless seasons, spoke of the Buddha's words. He said, "As a solid mass of rock is not stirred by the wind, so a sage is not moved by praise and blame." He didn't speak it like a command, but like a gentle rain falling on dry earth. He wasn't telling us to block the wind, you see, but to be like the mountain itself. "The wind still blows," he explained. "Sometimes a gentle whisper through the pines, sometimes a howling gale that bends the ancient trees. The mountain doesn't pretend the wind isn't there. It feels it, it hears it. The snow on its peaks might even shift a little, but the mountain itself, it doesn't move. It remains. This," he said, "is equanimity. Not a dullness, Not a flatness of spirit, as I had once mistakenly believed. Not an absence of experience, certainly not, but a deep, steady presence within all experience. A mind that can feel the wind, truly feel its force and its chill, without being carried away by it, without becoming the wind itself. Have you ever wished for such a quiet strength, my friends? For a place within yourself that remains untroubled, even when the world around you seems to be falling into disarray. And here is something that often surprises people, something that surprised even this old monk many years ago when I first encountered this teaching fully. The ancient texts do not describe equanimity as something cold or emotionless. In fact, quite the opposite. There is a passage in the old Buddhist scriptures that paints such a remarkable picture of what the mind of equanimity actually looks and feels like. It asks us to imagine a master goldsmith at work. Let us imagine this together now, as the fire embers glow softly before us. Picture, if you will, a quiet workshop, perhaps in a small village nestled by a river, in a time long, long ago. The air is still, save for the crackle of the furnace. The room itself feels warm, imbued with generations of patient labor. There's the soft, dancing glow of the furnace in the corner, painting shifting shadows on the walls, and the air carries a faint, earthy smell of charcoal and heated metal. A craftsman, perhaps an old man like myself, but with hands still strong and knowing, sits at a low wooden table. His gaze is steady, his movements deliberate, imbued with a quiet reverence for his work. Before him, nestled in a small crucible, is gold. But it is not yet finished gold, not the shining, flawless metal we might imagine. No, it is raw, still carrying the weight of its journey from the earth. Impurities cling to it, lesser metals, fragments of stone, dust from the mines. The craftsman's task, his sacred duty, is to refine it, to remove everything that is not gold, until only the pure, radiant essence remains. He knows the gold is already there, hidden beneath the layers of what has gathered around it. He is not adding, but revealing. So he begins his slow, patient dance. He heats the crucible, watching intently as the gold begins to soften, to glow with a deep internal light. He blows gently on the flame, a slow, steady breath that raises the temperature, just so. Then he lets it cool ever so slightly, sprinkling a few drops of water that hiss and evaporate in tiny clouds of steam, carrying away some of the dross. He examines the metal closely, turning it in the light from the furnace, looking for flaws, for the faintest discoloration, for any sign of what does not belong. His eyes, though aged, are sharp, missing nothing. And then he heats it again and cools it again and examines it again, patiently, carefully, without rushing. There is no impatience in his hands, not a flicker of frustration in his eyes. He has done this countless times before. His ancestors did this for generations. He knows that the gold cannot be hurried. It reveals itself in its own time, according to its own nature. Each cycle of heating and cooling removes another layer of impurity, another trace of what was never truly part of the gold to begin with. It was always there, you see, the pure gold, hidden beneath what had gathered around it. The craftsman is not adding anything. He is simply helping the gold become what it already is, and slowly, gradually, with each passing hour, the gold begins to change. It becomes smoother, brighter, more responsive, more alive in the craftsman's hands. It begins to shimmer with an inner light. And when the process is finally complete, when the craftsman gives a final satisfied nod, what remains is something extraordinary. The gold is described in the old texts as pure and bright, yes, but also pliant and malleable, luminous and flawless, free from all dross. It has no resistance now. It has no rigidity. It can be shaped into anything the heart desires. A ring, a beautiful vessel for sacred offerings, an ornament of great beauty and intricate design. It simply shines and responds. This, my friends, the ancient teachers tell us, is what the mind becomes when it is fully settled in equanimity. Not a dead thing, not a cold, unfeeling thing, but something luminous and infinitely responsive. A mind that is so free from the impurities of reactivity, so free from the dross of grasping and aversion, the wanting more, the pushing away, that it can meet any situation with clarity, with warmth, and with a kind of radiant availability. It is a mind that even when the winds of life blow fiercely, remains itself, shining, open, ready to respond, not react. Ready to respond, not react. It sounds so simple, doesn't it, my dear friend? But often when we first hear such words, a certain image forms in our mind's eye, perhaps of something rather still, even a little bit gray. We might picture an old sage, much like this old monk you see before you, sitting in quiet contemplation, perhaps unmoving, eyes half closed, feeling very little. We imagine a person who has somehow traded the vibrant colors of life, the passionate highs and lows, for a kind of muted emotional stillness. As if to be truly at peace, one must become a stone, untouched by joy or sorrow. I remember when I was a young monk, barely taller than this fire pit we sit beside tonight. I used to think that too. I thought wisdom meant never letting a ripple touch the surface of my heart. I tried to suppress every surge of anger, every whisper of desire, every pang of sadness. I thought that was the path to equanimity, to a quiet, unburdened existence. But that, my dear ones, is not at all what the ancient tradition points toward. Think of that gold, shimmering in the intense heat of the crucible. It is not cold. It is not neutral. No, far from it. Imagine the immense heat, the flickering orange flames dancing around it, the metal groaning softly as impurities begin to separate and burn away. Can you almost smell the faint metallic tang in the air? Feel the warmth radiating outwards? That gold, it becomes luminous, doesn't it? A light from deep within its very essence. And when it cools, it is not rigid, but wonderfully pliant and responsive to the artisan's careful touch. It is not less than what it was before this refining fire. It is profoundly, exquisitely more. It is the fullest, the most complete version of itself. Every speck of dross, everything that was obscuring its true, brilliant nature has been gently, patiently burned away. What remains is not absence, but pure, vibrant radiance. The equanimous mind, according to these ancient teachings, is not a still pond frozen over. Oh no. It is the most alive mind. It is the mind that sees the world with the clearest gaze, like sunlight on a mountain spring. Every pebble, every fish, every swaying reed visible in its depths. It is the mind that responds most appropriately, not reacting out of old hurts or sudden fears, but acting with a quiet grace, like a master craftsman knowing exactly where to place his tools. And it loves most freely, my friends, because it is not twisted or distorted by the insistent pull of craving, that yearning for what is not here, nor the harsh push of aversion, that turning away from what is. It is not clouded by the desperate need to be always right, nor paralyzed by the chilling fear of being wrong. It does not pursue comfort at all costs, ignoring the quiet suffering around it. No, it simply is, bright and open like the dawn sky, and always ready. Now, as you listen, perhaps a question bubbles up in your heart, as it often does in mine on a quiet night like this. If equanimity sounds so precious, so powerful, a path to such freedom, why then does it seem so rare? Why do most of us, myself included at times, spend our days feeling like a small boat tossed upon a restless sea, pulled this way and that by every passing mood, every careless word spoken, every tiny disappointment that pricks at our peace? You might wonder if it's some secret known only to a few, or a gift bestowed by fate. The answer, my friends, is quite simple, and it carries no judgment, no accusation. It is rare, truly, because it is often the very last thing to blossom within us. It is the fruit, sweet and ripe, of a long, patient, and tender cultivation. Like a sturdy oak tree that takes decades to reach its full height, or a fine wine that needs years in the dark cellar to achieve its complex flavors. It is not something we can rush. In our ancient traditions, dear ones, equanimity is often placed at the very end of important lists. It is the seventh of the 7 factors of awakening, those qualities that light the direct path to liberation. It is the 4th of the 4 great forms of love, sitting beside kindness, compassion, and sympathetic joy, completing the circle of boundless heart. And it is the 10th of the 10 perfections, the qualities of character that our ancestors considered the highest possible development of a human being. Now, when we see something at the end of a list, our modern minds often think it's an afterthought, perhaps less important. But in these traditions, the last position is always the position of honor. It is the pinnacle, the summit, the place where everything else has been patiently leading, like the final, most precious jewel placed upon a crown. There is a beautiful, undeniable logic to this, you see. Equanimity is not something you can simply decide to have, like choosing to wear a different robe in the morning or resolving to drink more water each day. No, it is something that arises naturally, like the quiet breath after a deep sigh, when certain other qualities have been diligently cultivated and strengthened over time. It is what happens when generosity, like water nourishing thirsty roots, when integrity, like the firm foundation of a house, when patience, like the steady hand tending a garden, when wisdom, like sunlight guiding the growth, and when love, like the gentle rain, have all been tended and nurtured day after day, year after year. When those qualities grow strong within us, my friends, the mind develops so many points of deep, unwavering stability. It's like a boat that has learned to ride the waves, not fight them, allowing the currents to carry it safely. It doesn't need to be forced into stillness, into some rigid, unnatural calm. No, it arrives there on its own, quite naturally, quite gracefully, as if finding its way home after a long journey. Have you ever, perhaps as a child or watching a child, spun a wooden top? Or maybe you remember the old ones carved by hand with their soft hum as they whirled? You watch it spin, fast and wild at first, then slower, slower. Before it falls, there is this brief, exquisite phase. A moment, perhaps just a breath, where it is perfectly upright, perfectly still, almost suspended in air. All of the frenetic energy that was creating the initial spin has resolved itself, you see, into pure, unmoving balance. That balance wasn't forced upon it. It emerged beautifully and inevitably from the very movement that came before it. Equanimity is something very much like that, my dear ones. It is the natural resting point, the quiet grace of a life that has been lived with deep care, with awareness, and with a heart open to all things. Like the gold that has passed through many patient cycles of fierce heating and gentle cooling until its true luster shines without effort. Like the mountain lake, high in the remote peaks, whose depths are so still, so clear, because nothing is disturbing its profound peace. Like that spinning top, which, for one luminous moment, finds perfect, effortless rest. That, my friends, is the quiet promise of equanimity. And this quiet promise, dear friends, it brings to mind another truth, one spoken by the great teacher himself long ago. He sat beneath the Bodhi tree, perhaps just as we sit now, watching the shadows lengthen, and observed something so simple yet so profound about the human heart, and about the very fabric of our lives here. He said that in all the world, in all the long, winding river of history, there has never been a single person who was only praised and never, not once, touched by criticism. And conversely, there has never been a person who knew only the sting of criticism and never the gentle warmth of praise. This is simply the way things are, he mused, the nature of the turning world. The winds of opinion, like the breezes that rustle these leaves outside our window, they blow from every direction, and no one, my dear ones, no matter how wise they may be nor how seemingly foolish, is exempt from these shifting currents. I remember when I was a young monk, barely taller than this fire pit, sweeping the temple courtyard. An elder, stern-faced, would often watch me. One day he declared my sweeping was the best he'd ever seen, a true testament to diligence. My heart swelled, light as a cloud. The very next day, a different elder, known for his meticulous eye, chided me for missing a single fallen blossom beneath the old plum tree. My chest tightened. I felt the sharp prick of shame. How quickly my mood shifted, my inner landscape mirroring the fleeting words of others. It felt as though my very being was a small, fragile boat tossed upon an unpredictable sea. This teaching, my friends, it is not meant to be a bitter pill to swallow. Oh no. It is a liberating whisper, a gentle hand on your shoulder. Because once we truly, deeply understand this dance of praise and blame, once it settles into the quiet corners of our understanding, something within us can finally relax. We realize there's no need to constantly chase after the sweet scent of approval, nor to flee in terror from the shadow of judgment. We can simply allow them to pass like clouds drifting across the vast blue sky. Think of the old mountain, my dear ones, the one we see from the temple gate. its ancient slopes etched by countless seasons? Does it flinch when the icy winter gales howl around its peaks? Does it puff up with pride when the spring sun bathes it in golden light? No. It simply stands. It allows the wind to pass, feeling its force perhaps, but remaining utterly unmovable in its ancient strength. Or imagine the deep, deep lake, the one nestled high in the mountains, where the air is so clear you can hear your own heartbeat. On its surface, ripples may come and go, stirred by a sudden breeze or a falling leaf. But deep, deep below, far from the surface agitation, there is an undisturbed stillness, a profound quiet that remains utterly untouched by the weather on top. Think for a moment of how much energy we pour out each day. How many hours are spent, consciously or unconsciously, trying to earn that fleeting nod of approval, or trying to carefully navigate around the sharp edges of potential criticism? How much of our inner life, a very sense of self, is shaped by what we imagine others might be thinking of us, or perhaps even worse, what we fear they could be thinking? It's like carrying a heavy, invisible burden on our backs, day in and day out. And then, my friends, consider what it might truly feel like to gently set all of that down. Not to stop caring about the people in your life, not to become cold or indifferent. Oh no, that is not the way of compassion. But simply to stop letting these incessant winds of opinion blow us from one emotional state to another, hour by hour, conversation by conversation. Imagine the quiet freedom in that, the relief. It's like stepping out of a constant storm and finding a sheltered grove where the air is calm and sweet. The Buddha described the truly wise person as one who, when touched by the warmth of happiness and then by the chill of suffering, shows no outward signs of being overly elated or deeply depressed. This does not mean, mind you, that such a person feels nothing at all. They are not made of stone. They feel the joy, they feel the sorrow, just as you and I do. But it means that something deeper, something profoundly stable, is holding them. Something beneath the waves, a stillness that is not disturbed by the passing weather on the surface. And perhaps, just perhaps, that is enough for tonight. Enough to plant a small, persistent seed within your heart. The seed of the possibility that there is a kind of peace available to us, a profound sense of well-being that does not depend on everything going perfectly in the world. A peace that does not require the external world to arrange itself in a certain pleasing way. A peace that lives always inside us, luminous and quiet, waiting patiently to be uncovered. It is like the purest gold, hidden deep within the rough ore, needing only the crucible of experience and quiet reflection to reveal its brilliance. Or like the deep water beneath the shimmering surface of that mountain lake, always present, always still. It is like the stillness at the very center of a spinning world, the unmoving point around which all movement revolves. It has always been there, my dear friends, and it is here now, in this very moment, within you. If we are willing to be still enough just for a moment to truly feel it. So let us pause here together for a moment. Feel the warmth of the fire on your face, the quiet breathing of the night around us. Notice how you are feeling right now, in this very instant. There is no right way or wrong way to feel anything. Simply notice, without judgment, like watching a cloud drift by. Just notice. And sometimes, my friends, When we do notice, when we truly quiet the inner chatter and simply observe, a story comes to mind for this old monk. One from the old Buddhist records, often told on nights like these by a fire just like ours. It speaks of a devoted practitioner, one who had spent countless years in quiet study, his breath measured, his mind meticulously trained in meditation. He felt, deep in his heart, that he had finally reached a profound state of spiritual achievement. He was so sure, so filled with a quiet pride, that he penned a beautiful poem. Lines flowed onto the parchment, describing his immovable spirit, his unshakable peace, how he stood beyond the reach of any worldly trouble, like a mountain in the mist. He carefully rolled the scroll, tied it with a silken cord, and sent it across the wide, slow-moving river to a revered teacher who lived in a secluded hermitage on the other bank. The teacher, a man whose eyes held the wisdom of 1,000 moons, received the poem. I can imagine him perhaps sitting by his own hearth, the scent of pine smoke in the air, slowly unrolling the parchment. He read the beautiful words, a faint, knowing smile playing on his lips. Then, with a brush dipped in ink, he wrote a single word in reply. It wasn't a word of praise, nor one of encouragement. It was, in fact, quite rude, a word that, to a sensitive soul, could cut deep. When the practitioner received this terse, seemingly insulting message, his serene, immovable spirit, well, it shattered. A sudden hot wave of fury washed over him, red and consuming. How could he? He must have thought, his hands trembling as he clutched the offensive scrap of paper. After all my devotion, all my hard-won peace, all my years of practice, he sends me that? The peaceful quiet he had cultivated vanished like morning dew under the harsh sun. Without a moment's hesitation, he leaped into his small boat, the oars biting furiously into the water, churning the river as he rowed with a desperate, indignant energy, his heart pounding a furious rhythm against his ribs. He stormed up to the teacher's door, his anger radiating like heat from a forge. "How could you write that?" he demanded, his voice trembling with outrage, the memory of his beautiful poem now a bitter taste in his mouth. "After all my years of practice, after everything I have accomplished, you send me that?" The old teacher simply looked at him, his gaze calm, steady, like the deepest well. He waited for the practitioner's breath to even out just a little, for the storm to subside from his eyes. Then very gently he said, "You told me, my friend, that nothing in this world could move you. And yet, one little word blew you all the way across the river." A quiet fell then. I can almost feel it in the air around us, can't you? A silence so profound, it swallowed the practitioner's anger whole. He stood there, suddenly stripped bare, the truth of it hitting him with more force than any insult. It's a story that always brings a gentle warmth to my heart, even now. There's such a tender humor in it, a quiet understanding of our human frailty. But beneath that warmth, my dear ones, there's also a very honest teaching hiding, a wisdom as clear as the stars that pierce the darkness above us tonight. And it has everything to do with what keeps us awake, what we are exploring together tonight. The ancient teachers, those who sat by their own quiet fires long before us, observed something profound about human life that remains as true now as it was thousands of years ago. They noticed that there are certain forces in the world that push and pull at every human heart, at every one of us, from the moment we draw our first breath until our last. Not physical forces, no. Not like the wind that rustles the leaves outside, but emotional ones, inner ones. And they are so constant, so ever-present, like the very air we breathe, that most of us do not even notice them. They are simply the water we swim in, the current that carries us along, often without our conscious awareness. The tradition came to call these pervasive influences the 8 worldly winds. They blow through every life, in every culture, in every era, as surely as the seasons turn. And they always come in pairs, these winds. There is the wind of gain and the wind of loss, the wind of pleasure and the wind of pain, the wind of praise and the wind of blame. And finally, the wind of fame and the wind of obscurity. 4 pairs, 8 subtle currents, always blowing, always shifting, always shaping our inner landscape. And the question the ancient teachers were interested in was not how to stop these winds. You cannot stop the wind, can you? It's simply part of existence. The question was something far more intimate than that. The question was, what happens inside us when they blow? What is our experience of these forces that we can never truly escape? Let us start, if you're willing, with a pair that nearly every person alive will recognize, one that tugs at our sense of self perhaps more than any other: praise and blame. How they can inflate us with a soft, warm glow, or deflate us with a sharp, cold sting. Let us explore a small story, a parable that has traveled across generations like a seed carried on the wind. There was once a quiet village nestled in a valley, where a certain farmer was known throughout the region for raising very fine horses. His stables were always clean, his horses sleek and strong, their coats gleaming in the sun. One day, a magnificent wild horse, untamed and beautiful, wandered onto his land, drawn perhaps by the scent of his well-kept mares. The villagers, ever watchful, ever quick to speak their minds, came to congratulate him on his good fortune. "What a wonderful thing!" they exclaimed, their voices buzzing with excitement, perhaps a touch of envy. "You have gained a beautiful, strong horse. Such luck!" The farmer, a man whose face was etched with the wisdom of many seasons, simply smiled gently, his eyes crinkling at the corners. He nodded and said very softly, "Perhaps." He didn't gush, didn't celebrate, didn't declare it a blessing. Just perhaps. A few days later, his only son, a spirited young man, was attempting to break in this wild horse. But the animal was still untamed, full of fire. The boy took a bad fall, tumbling hard to the ground, and injured his leg quite severely. The villagers, ever quick to pivot, came again, this time shaking their heads, their faces long with sympathy. "What a terrible thing," they lamented, their voices heavy with pity. "Your son is hurt, all because of that wild horse. What awful luck!" The farmer, tending to his son's leg with quiet diligence, simply nodded again. His gaze was distant, perhaps seeing far beyond the immediate moment. And again he simply said, "Perhaps." No despair, no anger at the horse, no regret in his voice. Just that soft, knowing, perhaps. The following week, a shadow fell over the village. The army came through, their trumpets blaring, calling up all the young men to serve in a distant, brutal war. Fear gripped every household. Mothers wept, fathers looked grim. But when they reached the farmer's house, they saw his son, his leg still bound and healing, unable to walk properly. Because the farmer's son was injured, he was passed over, left behind while all the other young men were marched away, their futures uncertain. The villagers, their relief for their own sons mixed with awe for the farmer's situation, returned once more. They marveled at his extraordinary good luck, at how fate had seemingly protected his son. "Oh, what good fortune!" they cried, their voices filled with wonder. "Your son is safe because of his injury. What a blessing that horse brought after all." And again the farmer simply said, "Perhaps." He offered no explanation, no grand pronouncement, just that one quiet word, like a pebble dropped into a deep well, its ripples spreading slowly. This story, my dear friends, has been told in many forms, in countless traditions, for a very long time. And the reason it endures, the reason it finds its way into our hearts on nights like these, is that it captures something we all know to be true, but find so very difficult to live by. We do not know, in any given moment, whether what is happening to us is truly good or truly bad. We only know that it is happening. And yet, our minds, bless them, rush to judge, to celebrate, to grieve, to cling or to push away, long before the full story has unfolded, long before the path has truly revealed itself. And sometimes, my friends, it is not just the path we try to judge too quickly, but ourselves through the eyes of others. I remember once, many years ago, I had spent the better part of a season carving a small wooden Buddha for the temple's meditation hall. My fingers ached from the delicate work, the scent of sandalwood clinging to my robes even when I slept. It was not perfect, no, but it carried something of my quiet devotion, I thought. I had poured so much of myself into that piece, each stroke a small prayer, each curve a testament to patience. One evening, old Master Lin, whose wisdom was as deep as the mountain spring, paused before it. He stood for a long moment, his gaze steady, his silence profound. Then he simply turned to me, a small, knowing smile gracing his lips, and murmured, "Young Ming Xin, you have truly brought the spirit to life here. I am impressed by the quiet strength in its eyes." Do you know what happened then, my dear ones? It was as if a tiny, warm sun had risen right inside my chest. A gentle glow spread through me, chasing away the weariness in my bones. My shoulders, which I hadn't even realized were hunched, seemed to drop a little, a sigh of pure relief escaping my lips. There was a lightness, a subtle expansion, as if my very being had grown a little taller. For hours, the sound of his words played like a sweet, soft melody in my mind's ear. Spirit to life, quiet strength, impressed. I savored each syllable, turning it over like a smooth river stone. And yes, if I am honest, for days afterward I found myself holding the carving tools with a renewed vigor, perhaps unconsciously hoping for another touch of that gentle affirmation. But life, as we know, rarely offers only one flavor. The very next morning, as I was sweeping the courtyard, another monk, perhaps less kind or simply less perceptive, gestured towards my carving. "Ming Xin," he said, his voice a little sharper than Master Lin's. "That Buddha, its right hand seems a little off, don't you think? You could have done much better with the proportions." And just like that, my friends, the small sun inside me was instantly snuffed out. The warmth vanished, replaced by a sudden cold knot that tightened right in the pit of my stomach. My chest, which had felt so expansive, now seemed to contract, shrinking into itself. My mind, bless its restless nature, immediately began to race. Off. How could it be off? I measured it 100 times. He doesn't understand the nuance. It's meant to be subtle. The quiet hum of satisfaction was replaced by a frantic buzzing, a restless discontent that lingered like a persistent chill. It followed me through the day's chores, sat beside me at the simple evening meal, and even whispered accusations in the quiet of my meditation. It was there when I tried to close my eyes, a silent, heavy companion. 2 simple sentences, a handful of words spoken by 2 different people. And yet, together, they held such immense power. They could lift me to the peak of a mountain one moment and then drop me into the deepest valley the next, all without my conscious permission. This, my friends, is what the ancients called the wind of praise and blame. And it is indeed one of the most powerful and often unseen forces that shapes our human lives. It buffets us, turns us, sometimes gently, sometimes harshly. The truly beautiful thing about the old Buddhist teaching on what we call the 8 winds is that it does not ask us to become unfeeling stones. It does not demand that praise should mean nothing to us, or that blame should simply bounce off us like rain off a roof. No, that would not be human. And this tradition, deep and ancient as it is profoundly interested in what it means to be fully, honestly, truly human, with all our tender edges and vulnerable hearts. What the teaching gently invites us to notice is the subtle yet profound difference between simply feeling something and being utterly carried away by it. There is a moment, right at the very beginning, when a word of praise arrives or a sting of blame lands upon us. In that first instant, we simply feel it. It is a pure sensation, clean and honest, like the wind of the mountains touching your skin as you walk. It is just life, unadorned, making contact with our sensitive awareness. But then, almost immediately, something else begins to happen. The mind, ever so quick, ever so hungry for a story, grabs hold. With praise, it begins to weave a narrative. I am good. I am worthy. I am talented. I must seek more of this feeling. With blame, the story shifts. I am failing. I am not enough. I am misunderstood. I must defend myself, push this feeling away. And it is this elaborate story, my dear ones, this intricate mental construction, not the original, simple feeling, that truly carries us away, that tosses us on the turbulent waves of emotion. The ancient teachers, in their great wisdom, often compared this to a person picking up a hot coal. Imagine a glowing ember fallen from the crackling fire. The first touch, that initial jolt of heat against the skin, is just pure sensation, isn't it? It is clean. But then, almost without thinking, perhaps out of habit or fear or even curiosity, the hand closes around it, gripping it tight. And that, my friends, that is when the real suffering begins. Not because the coal exists or because it is hot, but because we will not or cannot simply let go of it. The praise, the blame, they are like those embers. They touch us, yes, but the pain, the lingering ache, often comes not from their arrival, but from our own stubborn grip. And it is much the same, my friend, with what we call the winds of pleasure and pain. They work in a very similar way. Those subtle currents that flow so close to the body, so intertwined with our very breath and being. I remember once when I was but a young monk, barely taller than this old stool, the master sent me to gather herbs in the mountains. It was a bitterly cold day, the kind where your breath plumes like smoke and your fingers ache even inside your gloves. I found myself instinctively seeking the sun-dappled patches beneath the pines, pulling my robes tighter against the biting wind. Later, as the sun began to dip, a sudden warmth from a small fire built by a shepherd felt like the greatest blessing. This is not a flaw in us, dear ones. This natural movement, this innocent turning toward what feels pleasant and away from what feels unpleasant, is simply how we are made. It is the wisdom of the body that keeps us warm when winter bites and guides our steps to food when hunger gnaws. There is truly nothing wrong with seeking comfort, with finding a soft bed after a long day, or a comforting meal shared with loved ones. No, the ancient teachers, they saw something far more subtle. They saw how this very natural, very innocent movement, when not seen clearly, when left to its own devices, could quietly, almost imperceptibly, take over a life. It becomes a constant, restless shuttling back and forth, does it not? A lifelong pursuit of the next pleasant experience, always chasing the fleeting shimmer on the horizon. And on the flip side, a relentless, often frantic avoidance of anything difficult, anything uncomfortable. Have you ever felt it, my friend? That subtle ache in the heart, that hollow feeling in the belly, when one small pleasure fades. The sweetness of the last cup of tea, the warmth of the fire as it dies down, the quiet joy of a shared moment. The moment it passes, what happens? The mind, like a hungry bird, immediately begins its search for the next seed of satisfaction. It never quite arrives anywhere truly satisfying, because the very act of seeking keeps it perpetually in motion. The Buddha, with his profound simplicity, once likened this to a person who is thirsty and drinks salt water. I imagine the scene. The traveler, parched and desperate, spies a shimmering lake. The first sip, the immediate relief. The cool liquid on a dry tongue, the promise of quenching. But then, a moment later, a strange dryness begins to bloom in the mouth. A deeper thirst that was not there before. So you drink more, hoping this time it will be different. Hoping this time it will truly satisfy. But with each gulp, the thirst deepens further. Not because the water itself is evil, no, but because it was never the kind of water that could truly satisfy. This is not a teaching against enjoyment, not at all, my friends. Our tradition, this path we walk together, is rich with appreciation for beauty, for the sound of laughter echoing through the bamboo grove, for the exquisite sweetness of a perfectly ripe fruit, or the gentle touch of a kind word. The teaching, you see, is about something far more subtle than mere prohibition. It is about the profound difference between simply enjoying what is here, right now, in this, the very moment, and relentlessly chasing what is next. It is the difference between resting peacefully in a pleasant moment, letting its warmth seep into your bones, and clutching at it desperately as it passes, hoping to somehow hold on to a cloud. Let us explore a small, everyday scene together, one you might have lived yourself 1,000 times without noticing. Imagine, if you will, a person sitting quietly at home in the evening. Perhaps the lamp casts a soft golden glow upon the walls. The air is still, perhaps carrying the faint scent of charcoal from the hearth or the lingering aroma of dinner. Everything is fine. Truly. Nothing is wrong. The house is warm, the day's tasks are done, put away, like folded laundry. And yet, a vague restlessness, a faint stirring begins to rise within. It's not a loud feeling, not a dramatic pain, just a subtle sense of incompleteness, like an itch that cannot quite be located, cannot quite be scratched. So almost without thinking, they rise. Perhaps they open the cupboard, their fingers tracing the cool porcelain of a cup, their eyes scanning for something sweet, a small biscuit, a piece of candied ginger. For a moment, as it touches the tongue, there is a tiny wave of satisfaction. The restlessness eases just a little. The world feels perhaps a shade brighter, a small sigh of contentment. But 10 minutes later, or perhaps even less, the feeling returns. The itch is back. So they reach for their phone, the familiar cool weight in their palm, and begin scrolling through messages, through images, looking for something interesting, something that will fill that subtle, aching space. Another brief moment of engagement, another flicker of satisfaction, another fading, another search. Perhaps they turn on a show, the familiar voices filling the quiet. Perhaps they pour a small glass of something soothing. Each time, dear friends, it is the same small cycle, a reaching out, a brief moment of relief, a fading, and then another reaching. This is not what we typically call suffering, is it? It is not dramatic, not the kind of pain that brings tears or wringing of hands. It is a very ordinary suffering, almost invisible in its commonness. But over the course of a lifetime, this constant reaching, this quiet longing for more or different, can leave a person feeling like they are always reaching for something just out of grasp, always almost satisfied, but never quite truly at rest, always moving, always striving, but never quite arriving at a place of true stillness and contentment. The wind of pleasure, my friends, blows us gently, persistently toward what feels good, toward the next sweet morsel of experience. And the wind of pain, equally persistent, blows us away from what feels bad, away from discomfort, away from challenge. And between these two powerful currents, we can spend entire days, entire years being buffeted back and forth without ever quite finding solid ground beneath our feet. The gentle irony, as the ancient teachers quietly pointed out, is that the solid ground was there all along. It was there in that first quiet moment of the evening, before the restlessness began its subtle dance, before the reaching started, before the mind began its search. The peace was already present. We simply did not recognize it, because it was not exciting enough to catch our attention. It was too quiet, too still, too profoundly simple for the restless mind to grasp onto. And what a restless mind it often is, my friends, especially when it comes to the winds of gain and loss. We forget, don't we, how deeply these currents move us? It's not just a feeling like sadness or joy. It's a force, tugging at the very fabric of our days, shaping the decisions we make, the paths we walk. I remember a time when I was a young monk, barely taller than the prayer flags outside the temple gate. I had a small, smooth river stone. It was nothing special, just a gray pebble. But I had found it by the stream after a heavy rain, and it felt cool and perfect in my palm. One day, I lost it. I searched everywhere, under my futon, in the folds of my simple robe, even retraced my steps down to the stream. A wave of sorrow, disproportionate to a mere stone, washed over me. It was not just losing the stone, it was the loss of that small, quiet joy it had brought me, the sense of having something precious. I felt a heaviness, a hollow ache in my chest. And then, just as suddenly, later that week, a tiny wild orchid, no bigger than my thumb, bloomed near the temple's mossy steps. I had never seen one there before. The delight of discovering it, the vibrant purple against the ancient stone, filled me with a lightness, a kind of breathless wonder. It was a gain, a small, unexpected gift, and it felt as though my very spirit lifted. This is how it is, isn't it, dear ones? The delight of acquiring something we wanted. Whether it's a new grandchild, a chance to mend a broken fence, or simply the warmth of a new blanket on a cold night. And the ache of losing something we valued, the quiet corner where your spouse used to sit, the comforting rhythm of a long-held routine, the sense of security that a steady job once gave. We work our fingers raw, don't we? And worry until the first light of dawn, calculating how to gain more, how to lose less. It is perfectly understandable. It is simply what it means to be a person, with a heart that feels, moving through a world that is always changing, always shifting like the river mist. But the ancient teaching, it invites us to notice something specific about gain and loss, something that can offer a quiet reprieve from all that striving. They are not permanent states. They are movements, like the breath in your body, always rising and falling. What was gained yesterday, a new opportunity, a happy moment, may indeed be lost tomorrow. And what was lost last year, a relationship, a sense of direction, may return in a form we did not expect. Perhaps as a deeper understanding or a quiet new friendship. The old teachers were not being pessimistic about this, my friend. Not at all. They were simply being honest. And in that honesty, truly, there is a strange kind of freedom. Because if we can truly see that gain and loss are movements, like the tides, not destinations where we can set up camp forever, then we do not need to cling so tightly to the one, nor resist so fiercely the other. Think of the farmer in our story, the one whose horse ran away, then returned with wild mares, then his son broke his leg, then that saved him from the war. Gain arrived, then loss, then what looked like gain once more. And through it all, his quiet perhaps was not indifference, not a lack of feeling. It was spaciousness. It was the willingness to let the story of his life keep unfolding, like a scroll unrolling before him, without grasping at any single chapter and calling it the ending. He understood that the wind that fills the sails today might shift and calm tomorrow, but the boat still moves. There is a tenderness to this way of meeting life, isn't there? It doesn't mean we stop caring about what we have or what we lose. Oh no, our hearts are too full for that. It means we hold it all a little more lightly, the way you might hold a small bird in your open palm. Firm enough that it feels safe, that it knows your care. Gentle enough that it can fly when it is ready. You feel its tiny heart beating against your skin. You admire its delicate feathers. But you know it is not yours to keep forever. And then there is that last pair, fame and obscurity. Or, to put it more gently, being known and being overlooked. This one, I find, runs deep in many of us, deeper perhaps than we might like to admit, especially as we gather more years and the world seems to spin ever faster. The wish to be seen, to be recognized for our efforts, to feel that we matter in the eyes of others. It is not vanity, or at least it is not only vanity, is it? It is something more tender than that. It is the very human desire to feel that our life counts for something, that we are not invisible, like a forgotten stone in a vast riverbed, that someone, somewhere, knows we are here, that we made a difference, however small. I remember once hearing a story passed down through generations of monks about a quiet old brother named Wei. He spent many years in a small mountain temple, far from any bustling town. His days were simple, tending the small vegetable garden, sweeping the courtyard until the worn stone gleamed with a gentle sheen, preparing simple, nourishing meals for the few monks who lived there. He did this work quietly, day after day, year after year, without recognition or praise. His hands were gnarled from the earth, his back a little bent from the broom. He was simply Brother Wei. One crisp autumn day, a young, eager traveler full of questions and seeking wisdom passed through the temple. He asked the abbot, a man whose eyes held the quiet wisdom of 1,000 sunsets, "Who is your most accomplished student, master? Who has reached the highest understanding?" The abbot paused, his gaze drifting out towards the courtyard where the autumn leaves were falling, twirling in the gentle breeze. He thought for a long moment, the scent of burning incense hanging in the air. Then he pointed with a slow, deliberate finger towards Brother Wei, who was meticulously sweeping the last of the fallen leaves, his movements like a silent dance. The traveler was confused, his brow furrowed. "But, master," he said, "he is just sweeping. He is simply a gardener." And the abbot smiled, a soft, knowing smile that reached his ancient eyes. "Yes," the abbot replied, his voice like the rustling of leaves, "and he sweeps with his whole heart. Every stroke of the broom, every pulled weed, every planted seed. It is all done with a complete, unwavering attention. That is why the garden is so peaceful. That is why the meals are so nourishing. That is why the very air around him feels calm." Brother Wei had never sought to be known. He had never yearned for the wind of fame to fill his sails, and yet, in his quiet, wholehearted attention to his simple, unassuming work, he had created something profound. He had cultivated a peace that touched everyone who entered that space, that settled in their hearts like a balm. He was already moving gently and steadily under his own power, the power of presence. And its opposite, that feeling of being overlooked, of being forgotten or unnoticed. That too can produce a quiet ache, can't it? An ache that is hard to name perhaps, but very real, like a shadow lingering at the edges of the heart. The ancient teachers, they did not judge this feeling. They simply observed it. The way you might observe the changing weather outside your window, the sudden chill in the air, the unexpected warmth of the sun. They noticed how the mind puffs up when it feels recognized, like a proud peacock displaying its feathers, and how it deflates, like a forgotten balloon when it feels unseen. And they invited their students and us to watch these movements within ourselves with kindness and curiosity, rather than being helplessly swept along by them, like leaves caught in a strong gust. swept along by forces we feel powerless to resist. Ah, my dear friends, that feeling is so familiar, isn't it? This old monk has certainly known it many times. It often feels as if life itself is a great unseen hand tossing us here and there, and we can do nothing but brace ourselves. But here, by this flickering fire, where the warmth gently touches our faces and the scent of burning wood fills the air, let us speak of something very simple, yet perhaps the most profound realization I've come to in all my 80 years. It is this: the winds of life, they never stop blowing. No, they will not stop, not for you, not for me, not for anyone. As long as we draw breath, as long as we walk this earth, there will be days when praise falls upon us like gentle rain, and days when blame stings like a winter chill. There will be seasons of abundance and seasons of scarcity, moments of deep joy and moments of profound sorrow. Have you ever had a night like that, my friend? Lying awake, listening to the rain tap, tap, tapping on the roof, perhaps feeling the ache of a lost loved one or the quiet worry about a child far away, or simply that vague, unsettling feeling that life has somehow slipped through your fingers? These are the winds. They are not a problem to be solved, dear ones. They are simply the weather of being human. Just as the mountain doesn't ask the storm to cease, we cannot command these currents to stop. What can change, and what the ancient traditions with such tenderness encourage us to explore, is not the winds themselves, but our relationship to them. We cannot control if someone will praise our efforts tomorrow or criticize our very being. We cannot guarantee that the people we cherish will remain unchanged, or that every day will unfold in comfort and ease. No. These things are beyond our grasp, but we can begin to notice how we respond. We can begin to feel the subtle difference between the wind merely touching our skin, ruffling our hair, and the mind, in its haste, grabbing hold of that very wind, clinging to it and refusing to let go, creating a storm where perhaps only a breeze passed. I remember once when I was a young monk, barely 20, filled with a zealousness to perfect myself. I would meditate for hours, trying to quiet every thought, every feeling. One evening, after a particularly long and fruitless session, I emerged frustrated. The abbot, a man whose eyes held the depth of the night sky, saw my frown. He simply said, "Mingxin, you are trying to stop the river with your hands. Just watch the water flow." That simple phrase, it began to shift something in me. And this noticing, this quiet, patient awareness, is itself a form of equanimity, isn't it? It's not the grand, perfected equanimity of the old masters who seem to sit unperturbed amidst chaos. No, it's just the small, honest equanimity of a person who is simply starting to pay attention. It's like tending to a garden, my friend. You can't stop the weeds from growing, but you can notice them. And with gentle persistence, you can choose what to nourish and what to release. There's a beautiful image from the old texts that has always stayed with me. Imagine a deep, ancient lake, perhaps like the one we used to visit on our pilgrimages, nestled high in the mountains. When the wind moves across its surface, there are ripples. Sometimes, if the wind is strong, great waves can churn and foam, disturbing the entire face of the water, making it turbulent and unclear. But beneath that surface, far down in the depths where the water is, heavy and still, where ancient stones lie undisturbed. Nothing moves at all. The disturbance you see is only on the surface. The depths remain clear, silent, and undisturbed. You have depths like that, my dear ones. Beneath the ripples of your daily reactions, beneath the surface movements of pleasure and discomfort, beneath the passing storms of praise and criticism, there is something in you that is already still. It has always been there, untouched. Perhaps you have felt it at times, haven't you? In that quiet moment just before sleep takes hold, when the world outside softens and the mind settles. Or in the very first seconds of waking before the thoughts rush in like a bustling marketplace. Sometimes in the middle of hearty laughter, when for a brief moment all worries vanish. Or perhaps during a quiet walk through the woods, when the sunlight filters through the leaves and everything suddenly feels simple and whole, perfectly aligned. That depth, my friends, is not something you need to create. It is not an achievement to strive for. It is already there, like the roots of the oldest tree, anchoring you. The winds cannot reach it. They never have. They only stir the surface, that thin layer of our immediate reactions. The story of the practitioner who crossed the river in a fury because of one small word. He had forgotten in that heated moment about his own depths. The word, a mere whisper carried on the wind, stirred his surface, and he believed that stirring was all there was. He forgot the vast, quiet stillness beneath. But the teacher, with his playful provocation, gave him a great gift. He showed him with profound clarity exactly where his work still lay. Not in writing, more eloquent poems about being unshakable, but in learning to simply feel the wind, to notice the ripple it caused, and then, most importantly, to remember the tranquil depths beneath. There is a verse attributed to the Buddha himself that captures this wisdom with such simplicity. It speaks of the sage, touched by happiness and then by suffering, who shows no sign of being elated or depressed. This doesn't mean such a person cannot feel, my friend. Oh no, quite the opposite. It describes someone who feels everything: the sting of loss, the warmth of joy, the pang of regret, the thrill of success, but who is anchored in something deeper than the fleeting feeling itself. Someone who has found that still water beneath the surface of their being and learned to rest there, even while the waves of life come and go above. And this resting, this quiet anchoring, it is available to all of us, not as some distant, monumental achievement, but as something we can touch, even briefly, in any moment where we are willing to pause and feel a little deeper than the surface. Let us pause here for a moment then, dear ones. Simply rest. Feel the warmth of the fire, the quiet of the night. Notice whatever is present for you right now without judgment, just quiet observation. And when you feel ready, we will continue on together. Ah, my dear friends, you carry such heavy thoughts tonight. I can see it in your eyes, even in this dim light by the fire. The embers glow, casting dancing shadows on the wall, much like the restless thoughts that flicker in our minds when sleep won't come. We speak of readiness, but sometimes the heart feels anything but ready to face certain truths, doesn't it? Especially when those truths touch upon our deepest wounds, our bitterest regrets. I remember a time, many decades ago, when I was but a young monk, barely 30 winters old. The world still felt sharp and defined in my mind, and I believed I understood much more than I actually did. I was quick to judge, quick to take offense. There was a passage in the ancient scriptures, a teaching from the Buddha himself that I first encountered then. It spoke of anger in such a profound yet simple way that once you truly hear it, it becomes a part of you, a quiet whisper in moments of frustration. He said very simply that when you become angry with someone who has wronged you, you are in fact doing that person a favor. Now, at first, this sounds quite strange, doesn't it? Our minds immediately rebel. A favor? When someone has caused us pain, when they have spoken ill of us or taken something from us, how could our justified fury be a kindness to them? The thought feels almost absurd, like trying to hold water in a sieve. But the Buddha's wisdom, like a clear mountain spring, always flows deeper than the surface. He went on to explain that the real harm of anger, its true corroding poison, is not what it does to the person it is aimed at. Oh no. The true devastation, the slow, agonizing burn, is what it does to the one who carries it. Think of it, my friend. When someone has wronged you, when that sting of injustice flares up inside, who truly suffers the immediate torment? Your adversary, the one who perhaps spoke those harsh words or acted with careless disregard. They cannot reach inside you. They cannot make you feel that searing heat in your chest, can they? That tightening knot just beneath your ribs? They cannot clench your jaw until your teeth ache or make your thoughts race like wild horses through the dark hours, keeping you wide awake at 3:00 in the morning, replaying every slight, every insult. Only anger can do that. And that anger, my dear ones, is something made from the inside, by you, within you. It's a powerful image, one that has stayed with me through all these years, through all the storms and calm seas of life. It is as if someone, perhaps inadvertently or even maliciously, hands you a hot coal, a piece of burning charcoal plucked from the very embers of this fire we sit beside. And you, instead of simply setting it down, letting it fall harmlessly to the earth, choose to hold it tightly. You clutch it in your palm, feeling the heat intensify, watching your skin blister and blacken, and then you wonder, with a bewildered heart, why your hand hurts so terribly. That coal, that burning pain, is the anger, and the choice to hold it, to nurse it, to let it consume you, is ours alone. It's a teaching that doesn't ask us to climb to some distant mountaintop or to retreat into the quiet solitude of a monastery. No, this wisdom meets us right here where we live, right in the midst of our ordinary messy days, in the kitchen while we're washing dishes, on the dusty path we walk to the market, or in the quiet hours when we reflect on conversations with our children or our spouses. We are constantly encountering situations that invite us to react, aren't we? To take offense, to feel that familiar spark of indignation. This gentle understanding, this profound realization of where anger truly resides, leads us naturally into one of the most practical and perhaps most tender aspects of what we have been exploring together tonight. It leads us to a question as old as human life itself, a question that visits each of us sooner or later, often in the quiet of the night when the world is asleep. When pain arrives at our door, when that hot coal is offered, what exactly do we do with it? How do we simply let it go? To simply let it go. Such a gentle phrase, isn't it, my friends? And yet, how often do we find that the letting go itself feels like wresting a stubborn root from the earth? It's not always a quiet release, is it? Sometimes it clings with all its might. I remember once, not so long ago, sitting quietly after my evening meditation, a story drifted into my mind. A story I'd heard bits of from different people, a very ordinary story indeed. And as you know, the deepest truths, like the clearest spring water, often emerge from the most unassuming places. It was late afternoon, the sun already dipping low, painting the sky in hues of soft orange and fading violet. I could almost feel the weariness in her shoulders, the woman in my mind's eye, driving home from a long day. The air might have carried the faint scent of rain that had just passed, or perhaps the exhaust fumes of the city mingling with the last warmth of the day. She was tired. You see, bone tired. All she yearned for was the quiet hum of her own home, the familiar comfort of her armchair, a simple cup of steaming tea to soothe the day's edges. The road, as it often is at that hour, was a river of metal, thick and slow-moving. She was patient, though. She breathed with the rhythm of the traffic, a quiet calm holding steady within her. Then, like a stone flung into still water, it happened. A car from seemingly nowhere cut sharply in front of her, so close, so sudden. Her foot slammed on the brake pedal almost before her mind registered the danger. Her heart leaped, a startled bird trapped in her ribs. Her hands, without conscious thought, tightened their grip on the steering wheel, knuckles white. And the other driver. They simply sped ahead, a phantom weaving through the lanes, oblivious, uncaring. A jolt, a sudden flash deep in her chest. Not just fear, but something hot and tight, a spark of indignation. How could they? The words began to cycle in her mind, a relentless drumbeat. That was dangerous. That was rude. She replayed the moment again and again, each time adding a little more fuel to the fire. She imagined the sharp words she wished she could have hurled. The indignant stare. The air in the car seemed to thicken with her unvoiced anger. By the time her small car finally pulled into her driveway, the incident itself was a good 10 minutes past. The sun had almost vanished now, leaving only a deep twilight. But that feeling, that tight knot of anger and injustice, it hadn't faded. If anything, it had grown, taking root deep within her, settling into her body like a heavy, unwelcome stone. She walked through the front door of her quiet home, still carrying it, the weight palpable. And then, just as she stepped inside, her young child, full of the boundless energy of youth, burst forth from another room, eyes shining with excitement, eager to share some small, wondrous thing that had happened at school.
"Mama, guess what happened today?"
the child began, a torrent of joyful words. But the woman, still caught in the invisible grip of the road, heard herself speak. Her voice, usually soft, was sharper than she intended, a brittle edge she hadn't meant to share. "Not right now," she said, cutting the child off. "Give me a minute." And she saw it, my friends. That subtle shift in the child's face. A small dimming, like a candle flame suddenly sheltered from a draft. The bright, eager light that had been there a moment ago, that open, trusting joy, it faded just a little. The child's voice went quiet, and with a slow, almost imperceptible turn, they walked away to another room, leaving behind a silence that felt heavier than the one before. Now, let us follow this thread just a little further, shall we? Because the story, as you well know, never truly ends in the kitchen. That child, carrying the sting of those unexpected sharp words, sat alone for a while, perhaps in their own room, feeling confused, a little sad, wondering what they had done wrong. The next morning, under the pale light of the school hallway, when a friend accidentally bumped into them, the child snapped back, a harshness in their voice that the situation didn't call for. And the friend, startled by the sudden unkindness, hurt by the words, simply withdrew. Their own bright morning dimmed. And on it goes, like ripples spreading across a pond. We pause now, my dear ones, and simply look. What has truly happened here? A stranger on a road, perhaps distracted, perhaps simply careless, performed a thoughtless act. That carelessness, that sudden, unexpected motion, ignited a flash of fear and then anger in the woman. And she, bless her heart, held on to that anger. She nurtured it, carried it home like a hidden ember, and without truly meaning to, without even realizing the full extent of it, she passed it along like a silent, invisible package to her child. The child, feeling the sting of those sharp words, that unexpected rejection, may carry that heaviness, that small knot of confusion and sadness through the rest of the evening, perhaps into a restless night, and then into the next day at school. And there, in a moment of vulnerability, or perhaps simply a moment of unthinking reaction, a small unkindness spills over onto a friend. And the ripple spreads outward once more, in directions none of them, not the woman, not the child, not the friend, will ever truly trace. Have you ever seen a chain like this, my friends? We all have, haven't we? We have all been part of such unseen currents. We have all been that person who carried something heavy home, something that was never truly ours to begin with, and let it spill. And oh, how many times have we been the child, or the friend, or the colleague who received someone else's overflow, someone else's unexamined pain, and wondered, in our own quiet confusion, what we had done wrong. There is no blame in this recognition, you understand. None at all. It is simply the way things tend to work when we are not yet fully awake to the subtle patterns of our own hearts, when we haven't yet learned to watch the currents within. The ancient teachers, those wise ones who sat by quiet rivers and under old trees, they saw this chain very clearly. They understood that every moment of unchecked reactivity, every time we cling to a feeling and allow it to fester, becomes another link in a chain that extends outward, far beyond what we can see. But they also understood something else, something profoundly beautiful and deeply hopeful. They understood that this chain, this seemingly endless lineage of transmitted pain, can be broken. That any one of us at any point along that chain can choose not to pass the pain along. Not by being superhuman, you see, not by suppressing what we truly feel, for that only pushes it deeper, but simply by noticing in that very moment what is truly happening inside us. By acknowledging the hot coal we have picked up, and then choosing, with whatever gentleness we can muster, to set the weight down. To truly set it down, rather than hand it to the next person we meet. This, my friends, is one of the most generous things a person can do in this world. It doesn't require years of solitary practice or great spiritual attainment or eloquent speeches. It simply requires a moment of pure awareness. A moment where, instead of gripping that hot coal tighter, we notice that we are holding it at all. And then, with a soft exhale, we release our grip. The woman in the car, she could not have prevented the other driver from cutting her off. That was entirely out of her control. A sudden gust of wind she could not stop. But the moment after, the very next breath, when the anger arrived and began to build its familiar story within her, that, my friends, was where a choice lived. Not a perfect choice, perhaps. Not an easy choice in that swirling moment of indignation, but a real choice nonetheless. And this truly is the teaching. Not that we should never feel anger or frustration or hurt. These are as natural as the beating of our hearts, human responses that rise and fall like the tide. And there is nothing, absolutely nothing wrong with feeling them. The teaching, the deep wisdom, is about what happens next. Do we hold on to these feelings? Do we feed them with endless stories and replays and imagined confrontations, nursing them until they consume us? Or do we, even imperfectly, even slowly, begin to loosen our grip? Perhaps just a little, a tiny bit at a time. Yes, my friend, sometimes these deep feelings, these burdens we carry, they loosen their grip only a tiny bit at a time. And sometimes, the burdens aren't even our own to begin with. That reminds me of a time many decades ago when I was but a young monk at the temple on the Whispering Peaks. I must have been no older than 20, full of fervent questions and impatient wisdom. The sun that day was particularly bright, casting sharp shadows of the eaves across the courtyard stones where we, the students, sat listening to our master. The air smelled of pines and damp earth, a scent I can still recall if I close my eyes. We were deep in a quiet discourse when a man, a stranger from the village below, burst into our serene space. His face was contorted, crimson with raw emotion, and his voice ripped through the calm like a jagged stone through silk. He began to rail at the master, a torrent of harsh words, insults, and bitter accusations that seemed to spring from a deep, unseen well of frustration. He wasn't speaking to the master, not truly. He was spewing his pain outward, hoping it would land somewhere, anywhere, so he wouldn't have to hold it himself. My fellow students shifted uncomfortably. I felt a knot tighten in my own stomach. Some of us bristled, our young hearts ready to leap to our beloved teacher's defense. We glanced at each other, then at the master, silently wondering how he would respond to such an unprovoked attack. Would he rebuke the man? Would he explain? Would he simply dismiss him? But the master did none of these things. He simply sat. He remained utterly still, his eyes calm as ancient pools resting gently on the agitated man. He listened, truly listened to every sharp word, every venomous accusation, until the man, exhausted by his own fury, finally fell silent, panting slightly in the quiet aftermath. The only sounds for a long moment were the rustle of leaves in the breeze and the distant call of a mountain bird. Then the master spoke, his voice soft as a falling feather, yet it filled the space with an undeniable presence. "Tell me, my friend," he asked, "if someone offers you a gift and you choose not to accept it, to whom does the gift truly belong?" The man, still simmering but slightly deflated, looked confused. His brow furrowed, his anger momentarily sidelined by the unexpected question. He hesitated, then replied almost grudgingly, "Well, it would still belong to the person who offered it, I suppose." The master nodded, a gentle, almost imperceptible dip of his head. It is the same then with your anger and your harsh words. You have offered them to me, but I have chosen not to accept them. So they remain yours. A profound silence descended upon the courtyard then, heavier and deeper than before. In that silence, something shifted. I could feel it, like a change in the air pressure before a gentle rain. It wasn't dramatic, no sudden epiphany with bright lights, but a subtle, palpable easing. The man's shoulders, which had been clenched tight almost up to his ears, slowly began to relax. His jaw, set so rigidly, softened. The angry flush in his face began to recede, leaving behind a paler, perhaps even bewildered expression. He had thrown his pain, his rage outward, just as many of us do when our hearts ache, hoping to lighten his own load. But for the first time, it had not landed on anyone. No one had caught it and thrown it back. No one had absorbed it and visibly suffered from it. It was simply still there, in his own hands, waiting. Waiting to be acknowledged, perhaps, and then, perhaps, to be set down. We do not know what became of that man after he left the temple. The old stories, you see, rarely provide such neat conclusions. But that image, that quiet moment of non-acceptance, has stayed with me through all these years. Because haven't we all been both people in that scene, my dear friends? Have you not, in your own moments of desperation, hurled your pain outward, hoping it would feel better if someone else bore the weight, even for a little while? And have you not, equally, found yourself on the receiving end of someone else's burden, wondering how to respond without becoming entangled in their suffering? This story is often shared as an example of immense wisdom, and indeed it is. But there is a crucial nuance within it that goes beyond mere cleverness, something worth sitting with quietly, like we are doing now by this fire. The master did not deflect the anger. He didn't raise a shield. He didn't throw it back, igniting a new conflict. He didn't even build a wall against it, though that might seem like the natural protective response. He simply did not pick it up. There is a profound difference in these responses, and it matters more than we often realize. When we deflect, we are still engaged with the anger, aren't we? We use our own energy, our own force to push it away, and that force, no matter how righteous, always carries a cost. It exhausts us, leaving us drained. When we throw anger back, we become a part of the very chain we wish to break, adding our own link to the cycle of hurt. We become the echo of the unkindness. And when we build a wall, yes, we protect ourselves from the immediate impact, but we also, in doing so, cut ourselves off from the world, from its light and its warmth. Something within us hardens brick by brick until we are left isolated, safe but solitary. But when we simply do not pick it up, something entirely different unfolds. The anger, having nowhere solid to land, nowhere to grip, begins to lose its power. It is like a wave crashing towards the shore. If it meets a rigid cliff face, it smashes, creating foam and fury, reflecting its energy back with force. But if that same wave reaches only soft, open sand, it spreads itself thin, its energy dissipating gently, dissolving into the welcoming earth. There is no crash, no violent collision. The energy, finding no resistance, simply disperses, transforming back into the calm, rhythmic breath of the ocean. Think also of a stone dropped into a still pond, much like the one behind the temple, reflecting the moon on a night like this. If that stone were to hit a wall, it would rebound, sending ripples and perhaps even chipping the wall, creating further disturbance. If it were to hit another stone, the collision would send both stones careening, unsettling the quiet waters even more. But if that stone simply sinks into soft, deep water, the pond absorbs it. There are ripples, yes, for a moment, but they are gentle, concentric circles that spread outward, fading quickly, and soon enough, the pond returns to its pristine stillness. To be that soft, deep water, my friends. To be that welcoming, open sand. That is what true equanimity looks like when it meets the pain and fury of the world. It is not a cold indifference, a stony unfeeling. It is not a gritting of the teeth of forced endurance. No, it is a warm, open spaciousness. A profound capacity that allows difficult things to pass through without causing lasting harm to the core of who you are. It is, in its own quiet way, one of the most powerful things a human being can learn to do. It takes practice, of course, like polishing a stone, a tiny bit at a time. And here, my dear friends, is where this understanding becomes like a warm balm on a cold night. You see, this path of noticing, of gently turning inwards, it doesn't ask for perfection, not from any of us. Nobody walks through life flawlessly, always composed, always serene. That's not the human journey. It's a winding path, full of unexpected stones and sudden downpours. I remember once, many years ago, when I was still a young monk, full of zeal and wanting to perfect everything. I saw an old woman in the market, haggling over a handful of vegetables. Her voice was sharp, her face tight with frustration. I judged her, thinking, she lacks equanimity. But then I saw her hands, gnarled and trembling, counting out meager coins, and I realized her sharpness wasn't about the price of the vegetables. It was about a lifetime of scarcity, about wanting to feed her grandchildren, about the ache in her bones. She wasn't a failure, no. She was a human being, carrying a heavy basket, both literally and figuratively. And in that moment, she simply didn't notice the silent weight she was also carrying in her heart. That happens to all of us. It has happened to this old monk more times than I care to count. But the beauty of it, my friends, is in the next time. Perhaps the next time that woman in the market, or perhaps even you, driving home after a long day, might notice a little sooner. You might feel that familiar tightness gathering in your chest, like a knot beginning to form while you are still in the car, perhaps even before you pull into your driveway. And in that tiny moment of awareness, perhaps you take one slow, deliberate breath, just one, feeling the air fill your lungs, feeling it gently leave. Perhaps you notice the story your mind is already beginning to weave, the tapestry of imagined confrontations, of righteous speeches you'll deliver, of all the ways you've been wronged. And instead of getting entangled in those threads, you gently, almost silently, say to yourself, this is a weight I am carrying that is not mine to keep. It's like watching a cloud drift across the sky, acknowledging its presence without needing to climb aboard it. Maybe, just maybe, you roll down the window, letting the cool evening air or perhaps even a gentle sprinkle of rain touch your face. Feel that coolness, that simple sensation against your skin, a reminder of the vast, quiet world beyond the confines of your own thoughts. Perhaps when you finally arrive home, before your hand even reaches for the doorknob, you stand on the step for just a moment. Feel the solid earth beneath your feet, a grounding presence. Feel the evening air on your cheeks, a soft caress. And in that brief, intentional pause, you make a quiet choice. To leave the lingering weight of the drive, the day's frustrations, the mind's stories right there on the doorstep, outside. And then, only then, you open the door. And when your child, or perhaps a dear spouse, comes running up, eyes bright with excitement, brimming with stories from their own day, you are able to kneel down, look into those bright, trusting eyes, and truly, sincerely say, "Tell me everything." In that one small, intentional choice, my friends, a chain is broken. The ripple of pain that might have begun with a stranger's carelessness on a busy road or a difficult word from a colleague, it stops right there, on that doorstep, in that precious pause. It does not reach the child. It does not travel into the next day nor poison the next interaction. It simply dissolves, like a gentle wave meeting soft sand on a quiet shore, leaving nothing but peace. The Buddha, wise and ancient, taught us that hatred is never ended by hatred. Only by love is it ended. This is an ancient truth, unchanging as the mountains, and it truly begins not with grand gestures, but with these small, quiet moments where we choose not to add to the world's burden of pain. There is, my dear ones, another layer to this teaching, like the deeper currents beneath a calm river, and it has to do with understanding. Have you ever noticed how, when someone directs their frustration or anger toward us, it feels so utterly personal? It does, doesn't it? Like a dart aimed directly at your heart. Our name is on it, or so it seems, and the mind, with its quick and protective instincts, immediately leaps to build a case. How could they? What did I do to deserve that? They are wrong, and I am right. The internal courtroom convenes in an instant, doesn't it? But the ancient teachers, the ones who sat under silent stars and listened to the whispers of the wind, they invited us to consider something else. To consider that, in most cases, the person who is directing their pain at us is not truly responding to us at all. Not to you, not to me, not to what we said or did in that moment. No, they are responding to something much older, much larger, much deeper within themselves. It is their own accumulated suffering, their own unhealed wounds, perhaps a long-held fear, a crushing disappointment, or simply sheer bone-deep exhaustion from the burdens of their own life. It's like a cracked vessel spilling its contents, not because of what's outside, but because of its own internal fissures. Now, this does not mean we must accept harmful behavior, my friends. It does not mean we should not protect ourselves or set clear boundaries when that is necessary. Equanimity, this steady clarity we speak of, is not passivity. It is not being a doormat, no. It is a deep and unshakable steadiness that allows us to respond wisely, thoughtfully, rather than reacting blindly, swept away by the current of another's anger. But when we can see, even for a fleeting moment, that the person in front of us is struggling, that their harshness is really a cry from their own pain, a silent scream from their own unquiet heart, something within us shifts. The rigid need to defend ourselves, that protective wall we instinctively build, it softens. The urge to retaliate, to lash back with our own sharp words, it begins to fade, like morning mist touched by the sun. And in its place, my friends, there may arise something utterly unexpected, something tender and profound, a quiet understanding, perhaps even a nascent compassion. It is like looking at a person shivering violently in the bitter cold, their teeth chattering, their skin blue, and suddenly understanding. Their sharp words a moment ago, their irritable snap were not about you at all. They were about the cold. They were about the exhaustion from a hard day, the empty tank of their own spirit. That understanding, you see, it does not excuse the sharpness, but it changes what it means to you. It gives you room to respond, rather than simply reacting from your own pain. It gives you space to be generous, even when generosity was not offered to you first. And this, dear ones, is where equanimity and love begin to intertwine, like roots seeking water in the dark earth. Because when we are no longer caught in our own reactivity, when the mind is steady enough to truly see clearly, we often discover that the most natural response to another person's suffering is not anger or judgment. It is kindness. It was there all along, beneath the surface of our own defenses, waiting for a still enough moment to be felt, waiting for us to simply notice. And what a gentle invitation that is, my friend. Sometimes it's like watching the quiet descent of snow on a winter's night, each flake unique, yet all contributing to a soft, enveloping silence. We are invited in every turn of the day to simply observe the small embers of irritation that might flare up, or the subtle pull to react in haste. Perhaps a sharp word left unspoken, or a moment of patience extended when the breath felt tight in the chest. I remember when I was a young monk how often I would burn my own fingers by picking up every hot coal that life tossed my way. Someone would speak carelessly, and my mind would instantly ignite with a retort. My heart would pound, a familiar heat rising. It felt like an instinct, you see, a necessary defense. But then I observed old Master Li. He was the temple's quiet gardener, always tending to the moss and the bonsai trees with infinite patience. One day, a younger monk, eager and clumsy, stumbled and broke one of Master Li's most prized ceramic pots, a family heirloom passed down for generations. The air in the courtyard seemed to freeze. Everyone braced for Master Li's anger, but he simply knelt, his old bones creaking, and began to gather the shards. He didn't even sigh. He just looked at the young monk, his eyes soft as morning mist, and said, "It was time for this pot to return to the earth, my child. Now, perhaps, we can plant a new seed in its place." That was a moment of not picking up the coal, a moment of letting a chain of reactivity simply end. It rippled outward, not as anger, but as a profound calm that settled over all of us who witnessed it. These moments, dear ones, they are not grand pronouncements in the village square. They happen when a child spills milk for the third time and you bite back the sharp word on your tongue, choosing instead to find a cloth and a gentle touch. They happen in the silence between reading a hurtful message and typing a reply born of wounded pride, when you choose to let the words simply hang in the air, unanswered, until the initial sting fades. It is a quiet grace, this choice, It is a willingness to let the wave of discomfort or annoyance dissolve within the soft sand of your own heart, rather than sending it crashing onto another shore. Have you ever had a night like that? Lying in bed, thoughts spinning, eyes wide open, feeling the weight of 100 small grievances? Sometimes the hardest thing is to simply notice that we are holding on to old pains, old expectations, old arguments, like a hand clenched tightly, straining against itself. The wisdom is not in forcing the hand open, but in gently, kindly, becoming aware that it is clenched at all, and then perhaps feeling the warmth of your own palm, the subtle tension in your fingers, and allowing a slow, quiet release. It is said, the whole moon and the entire sky are reflected in one dewdrop on the grass. And so it is with these small, unheroic choices. Every time we choose not to pass the pain along, every moment of quiet equanimity, it reflects something much vaster, much more beautiful. It reflects a vision of what the world could truly be. Let us pause here, as the fire crackles softly and the night deepens. Let everything settle, like dust returning to the ground after a gentle rain, leaving the air clear and still. And whenever you are ready, whenever your heart feels a whisper of ease, we will continue on together. A long time ago, a young student, restless and earnest, came to a wise Buddhist teacher. I remember seeing such a look in many young faces, even in my own reflection in the temple's pond back in my early days. The student's question was one that many of us, perhaps even you, my friend, have quietly wondered about in the silent watches of the night. "Master," he asked, his voice a low tremor, "how do I find lasting peace? I have tried sitting in stillness for hours until my legs ached and my mind felt like a buzzing hive. I have tried watching my breath, counting each inhale and exhale until my awareness felt sharp as a needle. But the moment I returned to my daily life, to the clatter of the kitchen or the demands of the marketplace, the peace slips away from me like water through cupped hands. What am I missing?" He looked so earnest, so disheartened, like a traveler who has walked many miles only to find the path disappear before him. The teacher, an old woman with eyes that held the wisdom of 1,000 sunsets, was quiet for a while. She watched the steam rise from her teacup, the faint wisp curling into the afternoon air, the silence stretching, filled only by the distant cooing of doves and the rustle of leaves in the gentle breeze. Then she spoke, her voice soft as the falling leaves of autumn. "My dear one," she said, "you are trying to build a roof without walls to support it. Or perhaps you are trying to build walls without a strong foundation beneath them. Go back. Start with the ground, my child." The student looked puzzled, his brow furrowed, a faint sigh escaping his lips. "But, Master," he protested gently, "I thought meditation, all that sitting and breath watching, was the ground. Isn't that where peace is found?" The teacher shook her head gently, a faint, knowing smile gracing her lips. "Meditation, yes," she affirmed, "is indeed a beautiful garden. But before you can grow anything in a garden, anything that will truly take root and flourish, you must first prepare the soil. You must clear away the stubborn stones, the old habits, the ingrained resentments, the clinging attachments that harden the earth. You must enrich the earth with kindness, with patience, with understanding, so that it becomes soft and fertile. Otherwise, no matter how carefully you plant your seeds of stillness, no matter how diligently you tend to them, nothing will truly take root. The slightest wind will scatter them. The smallest storm will wash them away. This small exchange, heard by few but cherished by many who later heard it retold, points to something that the Buddhist tradition has understood for a very long time. It is a wisdom that we, in our modern hunger for quick results and instant gratification, often overlook, like a precious jewel hidden beneath layers of fleeting trends. The deepest peace, the kind of equanimity we have been exploring together tonight, that sense of inner spaciousness that remains, even when the world outside is churning, it does not come from any single technique, my friends. It does not arrive simply because we found the right meditation app on a glowing screen, or because we read the right book filled with elegant words, or even because we attended the most exclusive retreat in a distant, serene land. No, it comes from something far slower, far quieter, something more ordinary and yet profoundly powerful than all of that. It comes from the patient, gentle cultivation of character. Now that might sound old-fashioned, perhaps. Character. It is a word that belongs to a different era, isn't it? Perhaps a word your grandmother might have used as she stitched a quilt or kneaded dough, speaking of the qualities that truly make a person. But the Buddhist tradition takes this word, this concept, very seriously. It offers a remarkably detailed and compassionate map of what a well-cultivated character looks like. A path laid out, not with rigid rules, but with gentle guidance. This map, this ancient wisdom, is called the 10 perfections. And these 10 qualities, developed not in isolation, but together, like interwoven threads in a beautiful tapestry, over the course of a lifetime, are said to create a foundation so strong, so deeply rooted, that the mind naturally comes to rest. Not because it has been forced into stillness by effort or will, but because it has nowhere left to wobble, nowhere left to cling. Let us walk through them together, not as a list to be memorized or a burden to be carried, but as a journey, because that is what they are. A journey that each of us, whether we know it or not, is already on. This journey, my friends, it doesn't begin with grand pronouncements or the sudden awakening of 1,000 suns. No, it begins so often with something far quieter, something as simple as an open hand. We speak of generosity, don't we? Not as a show, not as a donation made for applause, but as a way of truly being. A subtle turning of the heart, like a flower facing the morning sun, open not just to receive, but to share what little warmth it holds. I remember hearing a story, whispered among the tea houses and village elders when I was a young man, barely taller than the prayer mat, about an old woman who lived on the very edge of a small, forgotten village. Her house was no more than a few rough-hewn timbers and a patched straw roof. Her garden, a small patch of earth where she coaxed a few meager greens from the stubborn soil. Truly, she had barely enough to fill her own belly each day, to keep the chill from her bones as the mountain winds swept through. Yet every evening, as the sun dipped below the distant mountains, painting the sky in hues of deep orange and purple, she would perform a small ritual. She'd carefully scoop a bowl of steaming rice, the aroma sometimes drifting on the cooling air, and pour a cup of fresh water from her well, placing them gently on a worn wooden stool just outside her door. The twilight would soften the edges of the world, and she would simply sit, watching the stars begin to prick the darkening canvas. One evening, a neighbor, curious and perhaps a little concerned for her, called out, "Old mother, who is that for? Are you expecting kin?" The old woman, her face a roadmap of gentle wrinkles, simply smiled. "For whoever needs it," she replied, her voice soft as the rustling leaves that gathered at her doorstep. Sometimes a weary traveler, his feet dusty from long roads, his stomach hollow, would stumble upon the offering and eat with a gratitude that needed no words. He would perhaps leave a small stone by her door as a silent thank you, a little mark in the earth, barely visible in the morning light. Other nights, a scruffy stray dog, its ribs showing through thin fur, would lap up the water and devour the rice, its tail giving a tentative thump before disappearing back into the river. Shadows. And then there were the quiet nights, when the bowl sat untouched, the rice growing cold under the watchful gaze of the moon. In the morning, she wouldn't fret or sigh. She would simply gather the rice and scatter it for the sparrows that flocked to her eaves, their cheerful chirping filling the morning air. She never checked to see who took it, never kept a tally in her mind. She just gave, quietly, without the slightest thread of expectation. And here, my friends, is where the true magic lay, though the old woman herself might never have consciously noted it. The people in that small village, seeing her simple nightly offering, day after day, year after year, began to feel something stirring within their own hearts. A warmth, a gentle nudge. What if, they might have wondered, as they prepared their own evening meal. A young farmer, whose fields yielded a bountiful harvest, started leaving a bundle of fresh firewood by her door as winter approached, the scent of pine needles sharp in the crisp air. Another, with a flourishing vegetable patch, would place a basket of ripe tomatoes or sweet gourds where the rice bowl usually sat. No one organized it. No one made an announcement in the village square, but slowly, imperceptibly, the air itself seemed to change. The village, without any grand campaign or lofty decree, became a kinder, softer place. It wasn't because someone preached about kindness, but because one old woman's quiet, consistent generosity had quite literally changed the temperature of the air around them. This, my dear ones, is what the ancient teachings mean when they say generosity is the first perfection. It is the very first movement, the gentle breaking away from the small, often fear-bound world of me and mine, toward the vast, expansive embrace of us. And that subtle shift, that beautiful opening of the heart, that is truly where this whole profound journey begins. Once that heart begins to open, my friends, once it feels the gentle breeze of giving, it naturally seeks a steady ground to stand upon. And that steady ground, that quiet inner certainty, is what we call integrity. The old texts sometimes speak of virtue or ethical conduct, words that can sound rather grand, even a little intimidating, like dusty scrolls in a forgotten library. But the heart of it, the true essence, is far simpler, far more intimate than that. It is merely the commitment not to cause harm, to tread lightly upon this earth, to be careful, truly careful with our words, our actions, and even our most private choices, so that we do not add to the suffering that already exists in the world. Have you ever had a moment, my friend, when words tumbled from your mouth too quickly? Or an action taken in haste only to leave a lingering regret, like a bitter taste on the tongue? I know I have. Many times in my younger days, I spoke without thinking, believing my own opinions were paramount. It was only later, sitting in silent meditation when the temple bells chimed in the distance, that the echoes of those careless words would return, disturbing the quietude of my mind. The tradition offers a beautiful, almost poetic guide for this. It says, "Before you allow your words to pass your lips, let them first pass through 3 gates. Imagine these gates, perhaps like the ancient stone arches leading into a peaceful temple garden, sunlight filtering through. The first gate asks, is it true? The second, is it necessary? And the third, perhaps the most tender of all, is it kind?" These 3 gates, so simple yet so profound, are a distillation of what integrity looks like in our daily lives. Not a rigid set of rules to follow with anxious perfectionism, but a gentle, steady attentiveness to the ripples we create with what we do and say. And here is something truly important about integrity, something the wisdom traditions emphasize again and again. It isn't just about how we behave outwardly for the world to see. No, my dear ones, it is about the inner ground we stand on. When our ethical life is clear, when it feels untroubled, when we are not carrying the heavy weight of secrets or the dull ache of regrets, or the quiet burden of things we know deep down we should not have done. Then there is a quietness, a spaciousness in the mind that is almost impossible to achieve any other way. It is like the difference between trying to find rest in a room overflowing with clutter and old anxieties, where every corner holds a forgotten task or a dusty memory, and trying to sleep in a clean, simple, tidy space. The outer order, the ethical clarity, truly creates an inner ease, a peaceful settling of the spirit. There is a small story that illustrates this, a tale so unassuming yet carrying such surprising weight. Imagine a person, perhaps someone like you or I, going about their day. The sun is warm on their face, the sounds of the village are familiar, and then, quite unexpectedly, they receive a payment they were not anticipating. Perhaps a refund or a reimbursement, or some small amount of money that was sent to them in error. It isn't much, mind you, a few humble coins, perhaps a small note or two, barely enough to buy a simple meal. Nobody would notice if they simply slipped it into their pocket. Nobody would truly care. And yet, something inside them pauses. A small, quiet voice, like a whispered breeze through autumn leaves, that says with absolute certainty, "This is not mine." That tiny, almost imperceptible pause. That is integrity speaking. It's not dramatic. It won't be announced in the village square, nor will it make the evening news. But in that pause, that moment of internal reckoning, the entire ethical foundation of a life is quietly, beautifully maintained. And the person who honors that pause, who takes the simple step to return the few coins or correct the small error, they sleep a little more soundly that night. Their inner ground is solid. And from such solid ground, my friends, everything else can be built with confidence and true peace. This is why integrity is placed so early in the journey. It is not merely a step, but the very foundation. Without it, everything built on top, no matter how grand, remains unsteady, vulnerable to the slightest tremor. And what causes those tremors, my friends? Often, it is the sheer weight of what we carry. The wise ones, those who walked these paths long before us, they spoke of a third quality, renunciation. It sounds like such a grand, perhaps even frightening word, doesn't it? As if we must give up all our worldly possessions and retreat into the wilderness. But really, dear ones, it is simply a beautiful, gentle word for letting go, for loosening the grip. We all carry things, don't we? So many things that are far too heavy for our shoulders, for our hearts. I remember once when I was a young monk, I tried to carry a whole stack of firewood, far more than my small frame could manage. Each step was a struggle, my back aching, the logs scraping against my robes. It was foolish, of course. I could have made 2 trips, or asked for help. But in my youthful zeal, I insisted on bearing the full load myself. And sometimes, even now, I see that same stubbornness in myself and in the faces of those who come seeking quiet. You see it too, don't you? Those old grudges nursed for years like a flickering ember that refuses to die, keeping us warm with resentment but never truly burning brightly. The worries about things completely beyond our control, twisting in our stomachs like a tangled fishing net. The old stories we tell ourselves about who we are, what we deserve, what others owe us. Stories worn thin with repetition, yet we cling to them as if they are the very fabric of our kids. Being. And oh, the attachments to the way things used to be, the way we wished they still were, or the way we desperately wish they would become. Like reaching for a hand that is no longer there, or a memory that is faded into mist. Letting go, my friends, does not mean we stop caring. It doesn't mean indifference. It means we stop clutching. There's a world of difference, isn't there? Like holding a bird in your hand. If you clutch too tightly, you crush its life. If you hold it gently, openly, it may choose to stay, or it may fly. But either way, it is free. And so are you. There is a lovely image, a parable often told in the old tales from the East that speaks of this very thing. A hunter, wanting to catch a monkey, would find a sturdy gourd and hollow it out. He would then cut a small opening just wide enough for the monkey's empty hand to slip through. Inside, he would place a sweet, succulent piece of fruit, a mango, perhaps, or a ripe banana. The hunter would then hide and wait. Soon enough, a curious monkey would approach. Its bright, quick eyes would spot the gourd, catch the scent of the fruit. Carefully, it would reach its slender hand into the opening, its fingers closing around the prize. But then, as it tried to pull its fist, now clenched around the fruit, back out through the narrow opening, it would find it was trapped. The opening was too small for its closed fist. Panic would flicker in its eyes. It would tug and pull, chatter. In frustration, desperate to free itself. Yet the trap was not the gourd itself. The monkey was trapped by its own unwillingness to let go of the fruit. If it simply opened its hand, released the mango, it would be free. But it would not. It could not. Its desire for the fruit was stronger than its desire for freedom. We smile at the monkey, don't we? Perhaps a little sadly. But then, in the quiet of the night, when the fire crackles and the world outside softens, we might pause and wonder. How many of us are holding on to our own version of that sweet, tempting fruit? How many of us are trapped, not by our circumstances, not by the world around us, but by what we stubbornly refuse to release? Perhaps it is an old argument, replayed again and again in the theater of our minds, even years after the words were spoken, the anger long since cooled. We polish it, examine it, find new ways to be right, new ways the other person was wrong. And each time, a fresh knot forms in our stomach, a tightness in our chest. Perhaps it is an idea of who we should have become by now. A successful merchant, a celebrated artist, a perfect parent. We hold on to that idealized image, and the gap between it and our actual selves becomes a source of endless ache, the constant whisper of not good enough. Or perhaps, my friend, it is a relationship that has changed, as all things change with the turning of seasons, and we keep reaching for the version of it that simply no longer exists. We try to mold the present into the shape of the past, and only find frustration and a deeper sense of loss. The grasping itself, you see, has become so familiar, so much a part of our daily rhythm, that we have forgotten there was ever a time before it. We have forgotten what our hand felt like when it was open, truly open, ready to receive, ready to give, ready to simply be. Do you remember the feeling? The lightness, the freedom of fingers spread, palms upturned to the sky, feeling the gentle breeze or the warmth of the sun. The perfection of letting go is not a sudden, dramatic act. It is a slow, gentle cultivation. It is the growing ability to simply notice when we are clutching, to feel the tightness in our jaw, the clenching in our stomach, the white-knuckle grip of our mind around a thought, a memory, a desire. And then, with that same kindness you would offer a child, to gently, slowly open your hand. Not all at once, no, never all at once. That would be too much. But one thing at a time, as we are truly ready, as the heart whispers, now. And each time we manage to let go of something that was too heavy for us, something that had been draining our life force, we discover a profound truth. What replaces it is not emptiness, as we so often fear. It is spaciousness. It is like a deep, cleansing breath after holding it for too long. Room to breathe. Room to simply be. Room for something new and unexpected to arrive, like a forgotten melody, or the quiet glimmer of a distant star. A new thought, a fresh perspective, a moment of unexpected peace. And from such a quiet moment, my friends, often springs the fourth quality, the one we call wisdom. Not the kind of sharp wit that wins arguments at the market, or the heavy knowledge found in dusty scrolls that clever scholars might boast of. No. True wisdom, as this old monk has come to understand it, is far more intimate than that. It is the ability to truly see. To look at a situation unfolding before you, like watching the patterns of smoke rise from our fire tonight, and to understand what truly breathes beneath the surface. It's not about being quick with answers, but about being slow to judge and deep in understanding. I remember once, many years ago, when I was but a young novice, full of fervent energy but little insight. There was a dispute in the village about water rights, a common enough thing in dry seasons. Two families, the Li and the Chen, were on the brink of real enmity. I, with my youthful zeal, had read many texts on fairness and justice. I was ready to quote ancient laws, to draw clear lines, to find the right side. But our abbot, an old man with eyes like still pools, simply sat with each family. He listened to their arguments, yes, but he also listened to the unspoken fears, the pride, the long history of shared harvests and forgotten kindnesses. He didn't offer a quick solution. Instead, he simply asked them to remember the year of the great drought, when they had shared their last drops of water. And in that quiet remembrance, something shifted. He didn't tell them what to do. He simply helped them see their own hearts and each other's beneath the anger and the grievance. That, my friends, was wisdom. It was seeing when it was time to let go of old grudges and when it was time to hold on to the thread of shared humanity. It is this inner quiet voice that whispers to us, isn't it? It distinguishes between the clamor that demands our immediate action and the quiet unfolding that simply needs our patient presence. Have you ever felt that insistent tug, that feeling that something must be done now, only for wisdom to gently remind you, like a breeze through the reeds, that not everything that feels urgent is truly important? Or that a shadow that seems frightening in the day, moonlit forest, is often just a familiar tree bending in the wind? Ah, yes. At our age, my friends, what storms haven't we weathered? And how many times have we learned that the most frightening things were often just illusions, born of our own anxieties? And then, flowing from that clear seeing, comes the fifth quality: effort. Or perhaps a more tender word is dedication. It's the willingness, dear ones, to simply show up day after day, not with a clenched jaw or a grim determination like a soldier marching to war, but with a kind of cheerful persistence, a quiet, steady resolve. It's like old Master Hu, the tea farmer down the valley. Every morning before the sun has truly kissed the mountain peaks, he is out in his fields. I remember the scent of the dew-kissed leaves, the faint sound of his humming carried on the morning air. He doesn't expect a single day of weeding or pruning to transform his entire harvest. No. But 1,000 mornings of his small, faithful attention, the touch of his worn hands on each leaf, the knowing glance at the sky, that changes everything. This kind of effort, you see, it doesn't shout for attention. It doesn't make headlines in the bustling towns. Nobody claps when you choose to speak a kind word instead of a sharp one, especially when you are bone tired. Nobody sends you accolades for getting up just a little earlier to prepare a warm meal for your family, or for simply trying again after a disappointment that felt like the end of the world. But this, my friends, is the quiet heroism. This is the persistent, gentle returning to what truly matters in your life, day after quiet day. It's not the dramatic burst of willpower, like a flash fire that consumes itself in a week, but the steady, enduring warmth of embers in the hearth. It's the kind of dedication that, over time, truly sculpts a life. And arriving right alongside this dedication, like a steadfast companion on a long, winding mountain path, is the sixth quality: patience. Oh, patience. For effort without patience, my dear ones, is like a magnificent fire built without a hearth. It might burn bright and hot for a short while, but it will quickly consume itself and leave nothing but cold ashes scattered by the wind. Patience is what allows us to keep going, even when the results of our dedication are hidden from our sight, like roots deep beneath the earth. It is the trust we place in the process itself, even when we cannot yet discern where it is leading us. Anyone who has ever knelt in the soil and carefully placed a tiny seed knows this feeling intimately. You cover it with earth, you water it gently, feeling the cool dampness on your fingertips. You wait. And for days, sometimes weeks, nothing visible happens on the surface. You water again, perhaps with a touch of doubt creeping into your heart, wondering if you did it right, if the seed was even alive. You wait again. The world continues its bustling rhythm, indifferent to your hidden hopes. And then, often just when you feel that quiet sigh of resignation forming within you, a tiny, vibrant green shoot, impossibly delicate, pushes through the dark earth. And in that moment, you realize something profound was happening all along, beneath the surface, in the darkness where your eyes could not see. This, my friends, is what patience protects. It protects that invisible, sacred work. The Buddha, it is said, once remarked that patience is the highest form of practice. And this old monk, having lived through many seasons of planting and waiting, can certainly attest to that wisdom. Anyone who has ever tried to mend a broken relationship, or to gently untangle a deeply ingrained habit, or to build something that truly endures beyond their own lifetime, knows exactly why. It requires a profound, quiet strength, a deep, unwavering trust in the unseen unfolding. And woven into that trust, my friends, is the quiet strength of truthfulness. Have you ever felt it? The way a secret, or perhaps just a half-truth you've been living, feels like a stone in your pocket. Not heavy enough to slow you down entirely, but always there, a subtle drag. This old monk remembers a time, many decades ago, when I was but a young novice. Our master had asked me to fetch special herbs from the highest peak for a sick elder. I went, but the path was steep, the wind fierce, and a sudden rain drenched me to the bone. Returned with fewer herbs than requested, and in my shame, I claimed the rest had been swept away by the storm. The lie was small, barely a whisper, but oh, the burden it brought. Each time I saw the elder, each time I saw the master's knowing eyes, I felt a knot in my stomach. My sleep was restless, filled with the sound of the rain I had conjured. The truth, my dear ones, is not just about the words we speak. It's about aligning the very fiber of our being with what we know deep in our hearts to be real. It's living a life that is not divided against itself, where what we say, what we do, and what we feel are all moving in the same clear direction. For days, that small lie festered. And then one quiet morning, as I was sweeping the temple courtyard, the sun just rising, painting the dew on the leaves in gold, I walked up to the master. My heart hammered like a drum in my chest, a tightening, a moment of pure, raw fear. And then the words tumbled out, soft as the falling petals of a plum blossom, confessing my cowardice. What followed wasn't a scolding, not even a stern look, just a gentle nod. But for me, the release was profound. It was as if a great invisible weight had been lifted from my shoulders and I could breathe deeply for the first time in days. The tension that had been living in my body, a constant low hum, simply melted away. It was the feeling of a bone gently set back into its proper place, a sweet alignment of body and mind. That, my friends, is the peace of truthfulness from the inside. It is a surrender to what is, even when what is might feel inconvenient or unpopular. But oh, the lightness that follows. And with such truthfulness often comes resolve, a quiet inner commitment that says, "This matters to me, and I will see it through." It is not the clenched fist of stubbornness, which clings rigidly and refuses to adapt even when the path changes. No. Resolve is the open hand that holds gently, yet does not let go. It is like the steady hand on the tiller of a small fishing boat, navigating the shifting currents of a vast lake. The wind might change direction, the waves might grow choppy, but the hand remains, guiding, adjusting, keeping the vessel true to its course towards the distant shore. This old monk has seen many such boats and many such lives. I remember once hearing a story, perhaps from a traveling merchant who passed through our village years ago, about a solitary traveler. She had set out on a pilgrimage across a vast, featureless plain. Day after day, the sun rose and set over an unchanging landscape. Just the pale earth, the endless sky, and the distant, shimmering horizon. There were no trees to mark her progress, no rivers to measure her steps, no mountains to guide her gaze. Many others, it was said, had embarked on this same journey only to turn back, convinced they were merely walking in circles, their resolve crumbling under the weight of such monotonous uncertainty. But this traveler, her commitment was quiet, deep like a hidden well. Each morning, as the first light touched the plain, she would simply look to the east, choose a star, and begin to walk. Her feet ached, the dust coated her eyelashes, and doubts whispered in the lonely wind, suggesting she turn back, find an easier path. Yet she continued. She did not know how many more days lay ahead, nor what wonders or challenges awaited her. But she had made a silent vow to herself, a promise to keep going. And so she did. Day after day, step after silent step. Then one morning, after what felt like an eternity, something shifted. A faint green blush appeared on the horizon. Soon, individual blades of grass emerged from the parched earth, then small, resilient flowers, their petals brave against the wind. A distant, subtle sound began to reach her ears, the murmur of water. And in that moment, she understood. The journey had been working all along. Every step had mattered, even when the signs were invisible, even when she could not see the unfolding with her own eyes. Her quiet resolve had carried her through the barrenness to the blooming. And what truly helps us keep such resolve, my friends, is the ninth quality: loving kindness. The warmth of a heart that genuinely wishes well for others. Not just for our beloved children or our loyal companions, but for all beings, everywhere. And yes, especially for ourselves. For we too are part of this grand tapestry. I recall a moment from my younger days, during my first retreat. My mind was a whirlwind of judgments and frustrations. I found myself sitting across from a fellow monk, Brother Kai, whose constant fidgeting and loud sighs irritated me to no end. Every small sound he made felt like a hammer blow to my fragile peace. Our teacher, seeing my internal struggle, gently suggested I try the ancient loving kindness meditation. "May all beings be happy," he whispered. "May all beings be at peace. May all beings be free from suffering." At first, the words felt hollow, like reciting a shopping list. How could I genuinely wish peace for Brother Kai when all I wanted was for him to sit still, but I kept at it, following the teacher's soft guidance. Slowly, like the thawing of winter ice, something began to shift within me. I started to imagine Brother Kai as a young boy, perhaps frightened or lonely. I saw him struggling, just as I was struggling. And then a tiny, almost imperceptible warmth began to bloom in my chest, a genuine softening. It was a radical moment, dear ones, for it changed everything about how I perceived not just Brother Kai, but the world. Imagine, just for a moment, walking through your day with this orientation, passing a stranger on the dusty path near your home, perhaps the elderly woman who always tends her small patch of herbs, or the young man rushing to the market, and silently, almost without conscious thought, wishing them well. May you be happy. May you be at peace. Sitting across from someone difficult, perhaps a neighbor whose words often sting, and beneath whatever frustration you might feel, holding a quiet hope that they too find some measure of peace, some freedom from their own inner burdens. Standing in the crowded marketplace where the scents of spices and sweat mingle, where voices clamor and bodies jostle, and feeling not the usual irritation or impatience, but a gentle awareness. An awareness that every person around you, every soul hurrying past, is carrying something precious and unseen. Each one hopes for something, fears something, and is doing their very best with what they have. This is not some sentimental dream, my friends. This is a profound reorientation of the heart. And when this loving kindness is genuine, when it is well developed like a deep flowing river, it has a remarkable effect on our equanimity. For when the heart is warm, when it is truly wishing well for all beings, it becomes incredibly difficult for irritation and resentment and judgment to take root. They simply do not have the space. The ground is already occupied, nourished by something gentler, something more alive, something that whispers of shared humanity and universal peace. The thorny weeds of anger find no purchase, for the soil has been tilled with compassion, and only fragrant flowers can grow there. And so, dear ones, after the soil has been tilled with such care, we arrive at the 10th, equanimity itself. It is not something we chase like a butterfly in a summer field, but rather a gentle stillness that settles upon us, much like the evening dew after a long, warm day. The ancients placed it last, not because it was an afterthought, a hurried scribbling at the end of a long scroll. No, my friends, it is the roof. Imagine, if you will, the humble home you built with your own hands, brick by brick, beam by beam. Generosity, that first strong foundation stone. Integrity, the walls rising true and plumb. The heart learning to let go, clearing out the old, dusty attic of regrets. Wisdom, a clear window letting in the morning light. Effort, the steady hammering of nails. Patience, waiting for the wood to dry, for the mortar to set. Truth, the blueprint guiding every cut. Resolve, the unwavering will to complete the task. And loving kindness, the warmth of the fire flickering within, filling every corner with gentle light. All these, they build the structure. And then, equanimity. It is the roof, the very roof that shelters everything beneath it, protecting from the harsh sun and the driving rain. I remember once, during a great storm that swept through the valley, The old temple roof groaned under the weight of the wind and water. The sound of individual droplets hitting the tin roof was like 1,000 tiny drums, and the air smelled sharp with ozone and wet earth. But inside, beneath that steadfast roof, we sat in quiet. Meditation, the flickering oil lamps casting long shadows. There was a deep sense of peace, not because the storm had ceased, but because we were sheltered. This equanimity that arises on its own, naturally, without force, like the sun appearing after the clouds have finally cleared, not because someone pushed them away, but because their time had simply come. Each of the other 9 qualities, you see, they are like roots beneath a great old banyan tree. The more roots there are, the deeper they go, intertwining and strengthening the earth around them, the less likely the tree is to be blown over in even the fiercest storm. And equanimity is simply the quality of that tree, standing steady in any weather. It is not a rigidity, dear friends, not a stiff, unyielding trunk. Oh no. It is because the roots reach so deep, so profoundly into the good, rich soil that the winds, no matter how they howl, simply cannot reach the place where its stillness truly lives. The leaves may rustle, the branches may sway, but the heart of the tree remains utterly unperturbed. There is a verse from the Dhammapada, one of the oldest texts, that says, "Just as a solid rock is not shaken by the storm, even so the wise are not affected by praise or blame." When I was a young monk full of sharp edges and quick judgments, I pictured someone cold and unfeeling when I heard those words. A hermit on a mountain peak, perhaps, whose heart had turned to stone. But now, having walked through these 10 qualities with you, having lived and seen, felt so much, perhaps a different picture comes to mind. A person whose steadiness comes not from hardness, not from indifference, but from a profound fullness. A heart so rich with spontaneous generosity, so deeply grounded in unwavering integrity, so patient through long nights, so warm and honest in every interaction that there is simply no room left for the old reactivity. The storms still come, yes. The praise still arrives, sometimes like a sweet breeze, sometimes like a clamorous gong. And the blame still arrives, often like a stinging nettle. But the tree stands. It sways gently, perhaps, a graceful dance with the wind, but it never falls. Its roots, you see, reach deep into good soil. The soil cultivated by a lifetime of gentle effort. This is what the ancient tradition truly means when it speaks of perfection, my friends. Not some impossible standard of flawlessness that we can never reach, forever chasing a horizon that recedes as we approach it. No. It means a fullness, a completeness, a life lived with such care and attention, with such warmth and open-heartedness that the heart, in the end, naturally comes to rest. Like an old river after a long journey, finally reaching the vast, calm ocean. And here, my dear ones, is the most encouraging part of all. You do not need to master all 10 qualities before any of them begin to help you. That would be like asking a sapling to bear fruit before it has even grown leaves. Every single act of generosity, no matter how small, a kind word, a shared meal, a moment of listening, adds a root. It makes the ground beneath you a little more solid. I remember a time when I had only one small bowl of rice and a traveling mendicant, even hungrier than I, passed by. to offer half of that meager meal. The lightness in my heart afterwards was a warmth that lasted longer than the rice itself. Every moment of patience you find, every choice to be truthful even when it feels difficult, every time you release something you were holding too tightly, be it a grievance or an expectation, the foundation grows a little stronger. The ground beneath you becomes a little more solid. You are already on this journey, my friends. You have been on it for as long as you have been alive. Every kindness you have offered, every difficulty you have faced with grace and a quiet strength. Every time you have forgiven someone or told the truth when it would have been easier to stay silent, or simply shown up when your heart longed to retreat. All of it counts. All of it has been building something inside you that is stronger and more beautiful than you may fully realize. The 10 perfections are not a distant ideal, glimpsed through mist on a faraway mountain. They are a description of what you are already becoming, one small, quiet choice at a time. Let us rest here for a moment. Let the breath come easily, a gentle tide rising and falling within you. And when you are ready, we will continue together as the embers in the fire softly glow. The embers do glow, don't they, my friend? Like tiny, quiet hearts still holding warmth long after the flame is gone. And sometimes, in these quiet moments, when the world outside is hushed, a different kind of storm begins to gather. Not in the sky, perhaps, but within the chambers of our own minds. I remember a time, many years ago, when I was but a young monk, barely taller than these flickering flames. We were in the mountains, high above the village, and the sky began to turn that deep, bruised violet color. Have you ever seen it, dear ones? That particular shade that tells you without a single word that the weather is truly about to break. The air grew heavy, almost thick, pressing down on your shoulders, and then that clean, sharp, electric smell, like ozone, filled your nostrils, promising a deluge. It's a smell that awakens something primal, isn't it? A warning, a thrill, a deep knowing that change is upon us. And then the wind arrived. No, not a gentle breeze, my friends, but a sudden, roaring tempest. It came all at once, a fierce hand pushing against everything. I saw the ancient pines, trees that had stood for centuries, bending almost to their knees, their needles shimmering like 1,000 tiny blades. Leaves, caught in the unexpected updraft, spiraled not down but upwards, dancing wildly against the churning clouds. The very air itself seemed to press against us, trying to push us off our feet. Now, I watched 2 people that day, both caught in that sudden onslaught. The first was an old woodcutter, Zhang. He had spent his entire life in these mountains, his body honed by years of felling trees, carrying heavy loads. His back was broad, his legs like tree trunks. He had built his strength not just for a season, but for a lifetime of work. When that furious wind slammed into him, I saw him plant his feet wider, his center of gravity sinking low almost. Instinctively, his muscles, accustomed to holding firm against the weight of the world, tightened with a quiet resolve. He didn't fight the wind aggressively, no, but he leaned into it, pushing back with a steady, almost effortless stability. His body simply knew how to stand. It had practiced standing day after day, year after year. He was like one of those mighty boulders in the riverbed that we used to rest upon during our long journeys, the kind that the current flows around, never truly moving it, no matter how strong the water rushes. He just remained. But then, my friends, there was another. Old Lee, the basket weaver from the next valley. His body was thin, almost frail, an ordinary frame, certainly not one built for wrestling with storms. You might have seen him in the market, his hands nimble with the reeds, but his shoulders were stooped, his steps slow. Yet when the wind tore through, Old Lee did something quite different. He didn't brace, he didn't push back, he simply waited. He had seen storms before, many, many storms, both of the sky and of the heart. And through those years, he had come to understand something profound about them. He knew deep in his bones that the wind, no matter how fierce, always passes. He understood that the strongest gusts, those that threaten to rip the very ground from beneath your feet, come in waves, and that between those waves, if you only waited, there were always moments, sometimes fleeting, sometimes surprisingly long, of absolute, breathtaking calm. He knew, too, that the darkest clouds, the ones that blot out the sun and promise unending despair, were often the thinnest at their core, and that behind them, even as the rain fell, the sky was already, quietly, clearing. Because he knew this, not as a thought in his head, but as a truth etched into his very being, he was not frightened. He didn't tense his shoulders, didn't clench his jaw. He simply let the storm move through him, around him. I saw him close his eyes, my friend, and a faint, almost imperceptible smile touched his lips as he listened to the rain begin to fall. Each individual droplet hitting the broad leaves of the plantain trees created a soft, rhythmic patter, a song. And the smell of the wet earth rising to meet the rain, it was, for him, something almost beautiful. Both old Zhang and old Li remained standing that day, firmly rooted on the mountain path. But they stood for very different reasons, didn't they? One, through the strength of his years, the other, through the wisdom of his years. One by holding firm, the other by letting go. Sometimes when the storms of life come, my dear ones, when the grief presses heavy, or the worries for your children become a gale-force wind, or that feeling of meaninglessness whispers like a chill through the quiet night, sometimes we feel we must be like Zhang, planting our feet, pushing back, finding the strength to resist. And there is great honor and power in that. But sometimes, when the strength feels elusive, when our bodies ache from the effort, perhaps we can remember Old Lee. Perhaps we can simply close our eyes, breathe deeply, and listen to the rain, knowing that even the fiercest winds are but guests in the vastness of the sky, and that they, too, will pass. The clearing is always there, behind the darkest cloud, waiting to unfold. Yes, my dear ones, even when the clearing feels miles away, shrouded in mist, there is a way to walk, a way to stand, that helps us feel the sun even through the deepest clouds. It's a quiet strength, not a booming declaration. We often speak of inner steadiness, don't we? It's a phrase that many seek, especially when the ground beneath their feet feels like shifting sand. Perhaps like some of you are feeling tonight, with worries clinging to your thoughts like dew to grue, spiderwebs in the pre-dawn hours. But this steadiness, this peace that doesn't waver even when the world outside tumbles, it isn't a single monolithic thing, oh no. It grows from two very different kinds of soil, like two ancient cypress trees standing side by side, their roots intertwined yet distinct. Tonight, by this gentle fire, let us speak of the first. The one I learned about when I was no older than a sapling myself, barely out of my novitiate robes. This first kind of steadiness, the old ones called it equanimity of balance. It is the stability that comes from being truly, deeply grounded, like a tree that has pushed its roots far into the earth, or a sturdy stone house built on solid bedrock. I remember once, many years ago, I visited a village high in the mountains. The wind there was fierce, always howling, threatening to tear things away. Yet the small, squat houses, built of rough-hewn stone, stood firm. Their secret. Not just thick walls, but foundations that sank deep and roofs weighted with heavy slates, each stone pressing down, holding the next. Think of it this way, my friends, like a tripod. Do you remember old Master Lee, the village photographer? He always carried that heavy wooden tripod, even up the steepest hills. He'd often say, "One leg, Mingxin," and the camera topples before you can even frame the shot. "Two legs, and it wobbles like a drunkard. But 3 legs. 3 legs, and something truly magical happens." He'd set it up. The 3 wooden legs splayed wide, each foot finding its purchase on the uneven earth. It could hold his heavy brass camera, withstand the mountain breeze, even a gentle nudge from a curious child. And if you could add more legs, if you imagine 4, 5, or even 6 points of contact with the ground, the stability wouldn't just increase a little, it would become almost unshakable, wouldn't it? Each new point, each new leg, makes the whole structure so much harder to tip over. This is exactly what happens within us, my dear ones. Each inner quality we cultivate becomes another leg, another point of contact with our deepest self, another source of stability. When we're truly grounded in our body, feeling the earth beneath our feet, the warmth of the blood in our veins, that is one sturdy leg. When we have carefully cultivated a calm heart, not easily swayed by every passing emotion, that is another. And when we find the capacity for simple joy, not dependent on great external events, but on the quiet beauty of a morning dewdrop or the shared laughter of friends, that too is a leg. Or the ability to concentrate, to truly focus on one thing without our thoughts scattering like autumn leaves in the wind. And of course, a heart filled with kindness, extending not just to others but to ourselves, forgiving our own imperfections. Each of these, like those heavy slate tiles on the mountain houses, becomes another point of balance. The more of these inner qualities we foster, the more naturally our mind settles into a quiet, unwavering equanimity. It's not about forcing ourselves to be still, like holding a struggling bird in your hand. No, it's more like the bird settling on a sturdy branch, finding its own balance, because the branch itself is strong and steady. The structure of our inner self becomes inherently stable. Let us feel this, even now, in the simplest possible way. Right here, right now, as you listen to this old man's rambling words by the fire, you are being held. Perhaps by this very cushion I offered you, or the solid floor beneath, or the earth itself, deep beneath this temple. Your body is resting, making contact in countless places. The curve of your back against the stone pillar, the weight of your arms in your lap, the gentle pressure of your feet on the cool ground. Each of these points, so ordinary, so often overlooked, is holding you, and together they weave a feeling that is so fundamental we rarely even notice it. The profound, simple feeling of being supported, of not having to hold yourself up, of being able to relax, truly relax, because the ground is there and it is not going anywhere. It is always there, waiting for you to lean into it. This, my friends, is the first kind of equanimity in miniature. It's a physical thing, a felt thing, a deep resonance that begins with the body. The ancient teachers, they understood this truth profoundly. I remember Master Wei, whose skin was as wrinkled as an old scroll, always telling us young monks, "Watch the body, my sons. The mind is a restless guest, but the body is your steady home." He observed that when we become disconnected from our physical selves, living entirely in the endless swirl of thoughts and worries and future plans, perhaps like some of you tonight, replaying old conversations or dreading tomorrow's tasks, or feeling the ache of a loved one's absence deep within your chest, we are far, far more easily pulled off center. It's as if we become a kite, soaring high, yes, but without a string, buffeted and blown about by every passing current, every whisper of wind. One moment we are here, the next we are carried, miles away by a fleeting thought, a sudden memory, a surge of grief. But when we are truly settled in the body, feeling our weight, feeling the ground, feeling the simple, rhythmic breath moving in and out like the tide on a quiet shore, then there is an anchor. The winds of life still blow, oh yes, they will always blow. But we are tethered to something real, something enduring. We are not just observing the storm, we are rooted within it. Even when the heart feels broken, my friend, the body can still be a place of quiet refuge. You may have noticed this in your own lives, without ever giving it a name, my dear friends. There are days, aren't there, when you wake and feel solid, present in your own skin. On those days, the small annoyances of life, like pebbles skipping across a pond, roll off you so easily. Perhaps someone cuts in front of you on the market path, and you barely register it beyond a fleeting thought. The carefully made plan for the day changes abruptly, and you adapt with a shrug and a quiet smile. You feel steady, and you are not entirely sure why. It's a blessing, isn't it? And then there are other days. Days when you feel unmoored, scattered, as if your mind is in a dozen places at once, and your poor body is just a reluctant passenger, dragged along for the ride. On those days, the smallest things can feel like a heavy blow. A misplaced key, a slow cue at the well, a careless remark from a neighbor. Everything lands harder, doesn't it? Because there is nothing absorbing the impact, no deep well of quiet strength to cushion the shock, no solid ground beneath your feet. The difference, more often than not, is simply how present you are in your body. How much of you, my friend, is actually here? This reminds me of an old teacher I knew, Master Hosho. He lived in a small hermitage by a rushing river, and he was known throughout the valley for being remarkably calm. Even when the river flooded its banks, or bandits passed through the village, or a drought withered the crops, his composure never faltered. Students, naturally, were curious. They would sometimes try to test him, bringing him sudden alarming news, or asking deeply provocative questions, just to see if they could disturb the stillness of his being. They never could. His gaze remained clear, his voice steady as the river stones. One afternoon, a young student, full of youthful impatience, finally asked him directly, "Master Hoshu, how do you stay so steady? What is your secret?" The old teacher smiled, a deep, warm smile that crinkled the corners of his eyes. He slowly held out his hand, palm up, as if offering a delicate flower. "Feel your feet," he said, his voice a soft murmur like the river. The student blinked. He looked down at his own dusty sandals, then back at the master, utterly confused. "That is all?" he stammered. "Just feel my feet?" Master Hoshu nodded, his smile deepening. "When you are truly in your body," he explained, "truly present to the sensations of your own being, the mind has a home. It is not wandering like a lost dog in the market. It is not spinning like a forgotten top. It is here. And when the mind is here, anchored to the present, it is very difficult for anything external to carry it away, isn't it? Most people lose their balance, my son, not because the wind of life is too strong, but because they were not standing fully in their own body when that wind arrived, and so they were easily swept away." The student, though still a little perplexed, tried it. He stood quietly there in the sun-dappled courtyard, closing his eyes, and brought all of his scattered attention to the simple sensation of his feet on the warm, packed earth. The subtle weight of his body pressing down, the warmth radiating up from the ground, the intricate texture of the dirt beneath his soles. And for a moment, just a single precious moment, everything else fell away. The worries about his lessons, the plans for the evening meal, the restless chatter of his thoughts. What remained was a simple, clear, physical presence. And in that presence there was a profound stillness, a deep quietude that settled not just in his mind, but in the very marrow of his bones. It was as if the river of his thoughts, which had been rushing and tumbling like mountain rapids, suddenly widened into a vast, calm lake, reflecting the clear sky above. No effort, no struggle, just the gentle, unwavering support of the earth, holding him, and in turn, holding his restless mind. This, my friends, is the beginning of that first kind of inner steadiness. It is the solid ground we can always return to, no matter how wild the winds of life may blow, no matter how much the heart aches or the mind spins. It is always there.